Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Marcus is at Heroes Con. He's hanging out with the cool guys, so he's not going to be here. He's normally my lovely, lovely co-host. So, as always, on It's Clobbering Time, it's anybody could join. Who knows? Who knows could join? Sydney Sweeney could join for all we know. She likes comic books, right? She's got some nice weapons. She's packing some nice 38. So who knows if she's going to show up, right? Who knows? Who knows? Anybody could show up. Let me put a star on that. And we got Eric Grant, first one in the chat. Hello, everybody. We got Zach 10. Hope you're all having a blessed day. Excalibur, enough said. Hey, everyone. So what about a lightsaber? Okay, so as always, I filibuster a bit until a couple of people come in. We already got 20 people watching. That's pretty good for my stupid little channel. That has a $15 microphone, $25 camera, and I'm causing controversy and people are reacting to me. It's kind of funny. So anyway, for those of you who are new, every Friday at 8:30, I do It's Clobbering Time, and the concept of It's Clobbering Time is we just talk nerd stuff. Who would win in a fight? I think the most contentious one we had was Spider-Man versus Batman, and we just pretend we're in a comic book shop. It's Wednesday. We're getting our books. We're 14, 15 years old, and we're arguing over the goofy, goony stuff that we just enjoy. So if anybody wants to come in, I always like better when I have somebody to bounce ideas off. Filibustering about all the stuff is excruciating. Watching me filibuster about the stuff must be worse. And what else we got here? What about a lightsaber? Derek, the Duke Star Clay says, howdy, everybody. Maybe heroes are at Marcus Con. There you go. There you go. How is this going to work? Krull. Krull was the name of the planet. The glaive was the name of the weapon, if I remember correctly. So how is this going to work? Good question. Good way for me to explain. So I figure I was kind of hoping people would pop in the chat and they would, or people would click on the link and pop in, and then they could tell me which weapon that they like. And, at the end of the hour, we all just kind of like vote on which one we think is the best. Now, of course, we know, like, when it comes to like overpowered, it's going to end up the Infinity Gauntlet. You know what I mean? There we go. The Infinity Gauntlet. Where is it? Right there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see how anything could beat the Infinity Gauntlet. So what I mean? Like, so what are we really talking about? The coolest, the most unique? That's all up to you. So what do you think? I mean, as far as like, if you're going to win, I really don't see how anybody's going to beat the Infinity Gauntlet unless we're going by real geek rules and it's out of the Marvel universe. But like, for all intents and purposes, every weapon works to the best of their ability, because if otherwise, what's the point? So let's discuss this stuff. So does anybody, I implore you, come in, save me from talking nonsense for an hour. So anybody want to come in and talk? All right. How's this going to work? You're right. It is the glaive. I only saw Krull once. I got to go back and watch that. I got to go watch it. The portal gun. Where's the portal gun from? Right. Rick and Morty had a portal gun, right? Is that what you're talking about? Assuming you could use the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, that's a good question. Could anybody use it? Do you have to be as strong as Thanos to actually use it? Like Thanos assembles because you got to go all around the universe and collect everything. You got to fight all the monsters to get it. Now, once it's assembled, okay, I got the Infinity Gauntlet right there. Could Phil Moskowitz, window washer, put on the Infinity Gauntlet and use it? I honestly don't know. Dr. Fate's helmet, that is a fun one. And also, if anybody could find a prop of Dr. Fate's helmet, I would love a prop. I got the Magneto helmet over there. I would love to get that prop. Does the Death Star count as a weapon? I would say so. It blows up freaking planets, right? That's a weapon. That's what weapons do. Like, it is the ultimate weapon in the galaxy. Didn't it the battle? Yeah, like like spaceships. Those are valid weapons. But then we're going to talk about spaceships. But X-Wings versus, Colonial Vipers and stuff like that. But a weapon. Space Racer, Man with the Incredible Gun. I'm not familiar with that, Mono, because I like your avatar. Was he beating up a witch? Is he beating up a witch in there? The portal gun is from Portal and Portal 2 games. Oh, I thought it was from Rick and Morty. That's what I thought it was. Excuse me. Everything is a mere trinket in comparison to the sword of power, Excalibur. Whenever anybody mentions Excalibur, I got to bring out my Excalibur prop from the Borman movie. Ow! Jeez. I guess I'm not worthy. There's a wire that sticks out, and I got to take care of that. I trim it down every once in a while, and it's just gonna be the death. That would be funny if I got an infection from Excalibur. That would be really funny. I'm actually bleeding. Excalibur. It has drawn blood. It is because you could use it for transportation in outside combat. Yes, the ability to move things is an underrated, incredible power. I'm trying to see if I could adjust. Okay, with only one person, it doesn't really change too much. Okay, I just can't stand seeing myself that big. The Death Star is slow, is it? I mean, it goes through warp space. We refer to the episode where we talked about the Federation versus the Galactic Empire, and we talked about how these ships actually travel, because in Star Wars, all ships basically travel at the same speed because they're using hyperlanes, which is why Han Solo. Here's another controversial thing. This is my hill that I'm going to die on. Han Solo was talking shit with the Kessel Run and all that stuff. He was just just bedazzling. He was just talking. He was a con man. He was a desperate con man who needed money, and he was talking nonsense. And Obi-Wan, he didn't know who he was talking to. A space captain, a famous Jedi Knight. He was talking to a desperate guy, and Obi-Wan was just like, this is the guy we need. This guy is so desperate, he's going to avoid the police, the Empire. This is perfect. There is no Kessel Run. The Millennium Falcon is not faster than any other ship because they just go into hyperspace. Maybe the Millennium Falcon knew a couple of more routes because he was a smuggler than the Empire knew. Kyber crystals as a whole. I've got a curveball of Mirror Master's mirror weapons. Those are good. That's a good weapon. Proof of Excalibur's power. Absolutely. It drew blood. Look at that. Look at that. Drew blood. Don't get hurt. I get hurt every day. Look at that. I got another wound. I'm a construction worker. Every day I come home with blood. And my wife's like, where'd you get that? I'm like, I don't know. Then I take off my shirt. And I got a big purple bruise. I'm not even kidding. Last week, it looked like somebody poured jelly all over me. She's like, where'd you get that from? I'm like, I don't know. You're banging into stuff. You're lifting stuff. Things are moving around. What's up? Black Hat Cinephile. How you doing? The stellar manipulator from classic Doctor Who. It blows up a sun to create a black hole. Which Doctor was that? I don't recall that one. I would remember that. Lol. Oscar Crano, the Green Lantern ring is powerful. Yes, the Green Lantern ring. You see, I got two different lanterns. I got one lantern over here, the classic Alan Scott, my favorite Green Lantern. And then this is the Hal Jordan lantern. This is the classic Alan Scott lantern. And this is a board game that shouldn't be there. It's driving me nuts. So I stand by it slow and vulnerable. Well, yeah, the Death Star, I just don't like the Force Awakens. I liked it when I watched it, but now when I think about it, it was unnecessary. And I just like that there was a flaw in it because the Empire just mass produces everything. Right? The fact that it was a purposeful because I want revenge and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't retroactively change anything, but it's like the Han Solo movie. Everything you need to know about Han Solo was introduced in that bar. He was a violent, drug smuggling bastard. And then he turned good through the power of joining a cause that was bigger than him. That's it. That's all you needed to know about Han Solo. John, George Lucas has spoken definitely about the Kessel Run. You can't really? Okay. Then I stand corrected. I didn't know that. If that's the case, then who am I going to argue about George Lucas? In my defense, George Lucas, I think, makes up Star Wars on the spur of the moment. But if that's the case, then what am I? I'm going to argue with George Lucas. John, you have to retire without getting crippled. You got me worried. Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Look above that comment. Hail? Or the Kessel Run. Okay. Celestial Orange 40K destroys everything in the galaxy. Celestial Orange that's the name of the weapon? Destroys everything in the galaxy instantly? Ooh. Can't argue with that. The celestial manipulator was used by Rassilon and Omega to create this. Oh, that's right. That was the Fourth Doctor. Yes. Okay, I remember now. Yes, that was the Fourth Doctor. And it was like that he was in this pyramid thing with the smoke. Yeah, I remember that. I haven't seen that one in so long. I like the solo movie for the entertainment necessarily. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. What exactly? Read. Oh yeah, the ultimate nullifier. Ultimate nullifier. What exactly does the ultimate nullifier do? Well, it scares off Galactus. You know, and Galactus is like a universal threat. George Lucas isn't infallible. Plus, Cloud City is Sky City from Flash Gordon. Yeah. Well, in George Lucas's defense, he made no bones about that. The fact that he was homaging Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, the Lensman, and all the stuff that he absolutely loved. You know, John Carter, Warlord of Mars. So, you know, he borrowed, which is why I laugh when people like, your comic book is a ripoff of Superman. Well, Flash Gordon was a ripoff of Flash Gordon. I mean, Star Wars ripoff of Flash Gordon. It was a ripoff of you know, everything. You know, the Samaritan was a ripoff of Superman. Everything is an homage. You know, when we like it, we say it's an homage. When we don't like it, we say it's a ripoff. So, you know, the anti-life equation. What does the anti-life equation actually do? I know it. Darkseid wants it. Now, does it remove free will? That's what I heard that it does, in which case it's a bad name. But the anti-life equation should just be it destroys all life, you know, and Darkseid could use it as the ultimate bargaining device or whatever. But like, I've heard them say that it destroys free will, so everybody becomes like a slave to Darkseid or loses the ability to resist. I don't know exactly what, and that's what I like. I like that the anti-life equation is undefined. You know, when they define it, it kind of looked like, I liked when Wolverine, he was just this angry man of mystery. I liked that Han Solo didn't have a past. I liked when the Kessel Run wasn't defined. Sometimes it's good not to define something. I like Tom Bombadil is still a mystery. Oh, that's good coffee. That's good. I have 2 coffee pots, 2 Faberware percolators. Metal Faberware percolators make the best coffee. That's another hill that I'm going to die on. But I have 2 of them because I'll make coffee with one upstairs to get washed, and, you know, and then we rotate. One of them makes perfect coffee. One of them makes good coffee. I thought this was the bad coffee, but now it turned into the good coffee. So I'm in a good mood. So Angry John had the bad percolator. Happy John had the good percolator. George Lucas is the creator of Star Wars. When fans disagree with him, they say he doesn't know what he's talking about. Absolutely. I literally didn't know that George Lucas, I thought that was something that somebody made up. I purposely don't read anything, discuss anything Star Wars past Return of the Jedi anymore. So there you go, logic. I hope that makes sense. And I keep forgetting that you live near me. So let's go to All American Burger one of these days. All American Burger, your treat. Okay, Eric's here. Okay, everybody relax. Eric's here. Good. I think according to Conan, the strongest weapon is willpower. No, flesh is stronger than steel, right? So what weapons are we doing? Only DC and Marvel or across entertainment? Are we including mythological weapons too? Yes to all of that. You know, whatever we bring up. I'm going to bring up a few. I have a few queued up to talk about. I was just kind of filibustering. Everything's inspired by something else. Metropolis is the first official sci-fi film. So every book at H.G. Wells ripoff. Absolutely. Absolutely. I live in New York. And because of Excalibur, I'm the king of New York. I got it in a stone. Absolutely. There's nothing new under the sun. It's how you do it. The devil's in the details kind of thing. Every comic book. The Sentry was, to me, the Sentry was Marvel's last great new character. And they even said it was based on Superman. It was, you know, it was supposed to be Stan Lee wanted Marvel's Superman. Everything is new. Everything is new. Mother Box, there's a good weapon. The Mother Box, Wonder Woman's lasso of truth over there. There's a good weapon. You know, we all got good weapons. Megatron's fusion cannon. Okay, I know people are gonna call me a fake geek girl, but I'm not a big fan of the Transformers. I was too old for the Transformers, and I know everybody loves them. That's not a diss. I have a Star Wars. I have a better Star Wars in my head. If Lucas had better testicle fortitude, he would have doubled down on Darth Jar Jar instead of was Darth Jar Jar is a great theory. I love Doctor. And who was it that was arguing like a friendly argument with me on Twitter that Darth Jar Jar and his assistant was Padme. Padme was really an apprentice Sith, and she was there to tempt Anakin and also Obi-Wan. My theory is that Obi-Wan is really Luke's father. To me, that makes a better story, or at least Obi-Wan was doing it with Padme. And then my proof is she's like, oh, my friend is coming to visit. She's all excited in the second movie. Well, that little torpy little kid in the first movie, that would have been weird if she was friends with that little kid. But Obi-Wan was more her age. She was excited to see Obi-Wan. And then who jumped out the window when the little slug thing tried to assassinate her like a angry lover was Obi-Wan. You know, and then when Anakin says in the last movie, you betrayed me, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that's my headcanon. I can't believe I said headcanon. I said headcanon 3 times this week. I'm so disappointed with myself. Let's just appreciate something when it's done well. And yeah, there you go. Absolutely. If I'm not joking. We should go to All American, get a burger. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. From the battle of last week, the High Evolutionary's armor, for Pete's sake. There you go. If you know a fictional world is good, the lefties can't completely destroy it. You know, if a fictional, they can. You know, I just stop consuming new, like Star Wars is. I retroactively went back, Return of the Jedi. They all waved on the planet Endor, and that was the end of Star Wars. Sorry, everybody. No Mandalorians, no Andors. I'm just done. You know, Marvel in the second, or was it the third Secret Wars, where Doctor Doom was like the ruler and everything, which I actually enjoyed. And Robert Hickman, right, Jonathan Hickman rather. It said the Marvel Universe 1962, 2015. That satisfied me, and that's the end of Marvel. So anything after Marvel, do whatever you want, guys. It's not me anymore. The Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, blessed by God, great against killer rabbits. And 3 shall be the number of the counting, and the number of the counting shall be 3. Mother box is so cool, John. What would you choose between a Green Lantern power ring or a mother box? I really do like a mother box. Mother box is really cool. I do admit that the Green Lantern ring is more powerful. It's got more uses, but I just think the mother box is so clever. The reason why I'm prejudiced against the Green Lantern ring is because they're called Green Lanterns. If they carried around lanterns, I just think it would be so cool. The Green Lantern Corps, they all have a lantern, you know, in the cape, you know, wrapped up cape and a big lantern and everything like that. That would just be so cool. But I know it's supposed to be Aladdin had the lamp and the ring, but they're called Green Lanterns, and they're known for their rings. It just bothers me. So it's just my craziness that makes me want the mother box more than a Green Lantern ring. Not, I'm sorry. I knew there was going to be one. It was nice knowing you, Henry Thrum. I will miss you. I will miss you. I would choose a mother box. Obi-Wan gave Padme the Force. I agree, John. It's far less weird too. What about my theory about Obi-Wan and I mean, Anakin could still be the father. I mean, Padme could have used a 2-ended lightsaber like Darth Maul. It does make sense that she would be excited to see Obi-Wan. Yeah, she wasn't excited to see this little annoying kid, right? The last time she saw him, he was a little annoying kid. That wasn't her friend. Obi-Wan was her friend. You should look at the first movie. She's talking with Obi-Wan. She's like, you know, being dismissive to Anakin because he was an annoying little kid. Nothing against that kid. I don't like the way people like mad at the kid. From the new Doctor Who, the moment. It can destroy several systems at once. It can even change or erase timelines. Since every weapon the timelines makes affect time. Yes, the moment. Yes, the moment. That was the War Doctor when Rose was the embodiment of the bad wolf. Yeah, that was. I know you like the classic Doctor Who better. I like them both because I got into Doctor Who with Christopher Eccleston. And then while watching Doctor Who with Krista Eccleston, I went back and I literally bought the DVDs of all the doctors, of all the episodes, from as much as I could buy. And what I couldn't buy, I watched. And what I couldn't watch on Netflix, I watched on YouTube. I am up to the end of the 5th Doctor. He's about to turn into the 6th Doctor. And now I just lost all interest in Doctor Who. So I feel bad for this, the 6th Doctor, the 7th Doctor, the 8th Doctor. He had one. I love Paul McGann. And I'm real curious to watch Sylvester McCoy as Sylvester Pembleton as the Star Spangled Kid. I'm real interested in watching Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor. But the new Doctor Who, since that the female Doctor, I just that's the way I am. When I lose interest in something, it's done, and it'll take a supreme retcon to get me back into Doctor Who. We don't have All American Burgers in Minnesota. We have Culver's. Is that even this should be it's clobbering time. A good burger and good pizza are awesome. I think we could all agree. But here's the question. If you have to choose between a bad burger and a bad pizza, what would you choose? That's a good it's clobbering. That will be it's slobbering time. Oh, it's slobbering time. We'll talk about food. I think I'm going to become a food channel. Some of the best Star Wars contents of the comics Marvel published or Darth Vader. Yep, I hated them because they were different than the movies, but now that I'm done with Star Wars, I'm actually enjoying them. How about the armor in the Thor comics? I'm so tired I can't remember the name. The Destroyer, right? The Destroyer armor. And the Odin sword. In my Star Wars, Anakin and Dave Part. In my Star Wars, Anakin was Dave Prowse at the start. A pro pod racer who used power he didn't understand to win races. He had a wife and son, Jabba the Hutt, bet on Sebulba and lost because of Anakin. Okay. Is that like a fan fiction that you made up? Bye. I'm sorry, Henry. It was nice knowing you. I'll miss you. I have a hole in my heart. I have a Henry Thrun-shaped hole in my heart. They have lanterns, which are the batteries. I know. I know how it works, but you know what I mean? It's like we are the purple sabers, and then you find out that they use their powers through tap shoes. They're called the Purple Sabers. They're called the Green Lantern. I know. I know. Yes, your theory about okay, Padme and Obi-Wan. Let's face it, Jack Kirby's weapons are always the coolest. Yeah, Jack Kirby was like supernatural in his ability to like create stuff. Read Olmec. Oh my God. Olmec is Jack Kirby at his most prophetic. It is so good. I remember the Superpowers Green Lantern figure had, yes, that was such a great action figure. I have it in a box in the garage. Honestly, the Matrix from G1 Transformers animated series would be way up there. It was able to destroy the Pliny unicorn. Oh, Unicron. And it would make the beginning of episode 4 much more powerful. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you are my only hope. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Oh my God, that is brilliant. Oh my God, that actually stopped me. That is brilliant. It's a girl crying out for her father. That actually got me emotional. Good job, Eric. Eric the Guapo, ladies and gentlemen. To each their own. New Who is for a new audience and a different demographic. Classic Who is for theater. Yes. My wife and a couple of my friends, they all noped out real early. And they didn't like it because like the weird looking sets to our sensibilities, you know what I mean? The camera barely moved because it was a tiny stage, but they all had to agree that the acting was top notch. The acting, the first Doctor Who series, when they went to the before the Daleks, they went to the cavemen. The acting was, these people were theatrically trained, classical Shakespearean actors taking a role seriously. It really is impressive acting. Because they made you buy the fact that it was just cardboard sets on a tiny little stage. It really, really was good acting. I agree. Geekon and Obi-Wan were at the race investigating reports of. Oh, so you're just rewriting the movie, Black Hat? That's good. That's good. I kind of make it what you want. Culver's is great fast food. That sounds good. Probably a bad pizza. Hopefully it's not that bad. So a bad pizza over a bad burger. Okay. I have thoughts on that. I'll save it for later. Hitman, but baby Luke was hidden. He gives Luke his sister so he can help everyone. Okay. I like that. Black Hat is just rewriting Star Wars For me, it was Doctor Who, 1963, 1989, who was probably just knew it was mostly disappointed with a few red gems. Yeah, the first season, the first 13 episodes with Eccleston, there was a couple of episodes I really didn't like. The Holy Jet Hadrathax with Simon Pegg was a bad episode, and the You're the Weakest Link, goodbye. The first part of the child, are you my mommy? That was really good. But yeah, I agree. There was some really good episodes, and there was some just dreck. I agree. I love their burgers, and they offer gluten-free buns. Oh, Culver's. Nobody's coming in. Come on, somebody come in. Save me. Here. Yep, my wife needs gluten-free buns. I got to say the exosuit was a great idea. Oh, from that game. I'm looking over here because I have a game called XCOM is what I have. Exo board game. The Blue Raja who uses forks. Ivan Omak drawn by Dan Fraga. That is pretty cool. Like the Jack Kirby one or the John Byrne one, or there's even a newer one, like the blue translucent looking one. John, I'm practically Encyclopedia of Doctor Who. Drives you crazy when you get somewhere. Yeah, I'm factually retarded. I'm practically encyclopedically retarded. So yeah. Because I watched them all only once, there's just too much to go back and watch. So I watched them all only once, and I enjoyed them. But yeah, I admit Doctor Who, even though I watched up to, like I said, the 5th Doctor. Yeah, he's about to turn into the 6th Doctor, and I just stopped. She could have a bowl. It wasn't about this. It was about the acting and right. Yeah, we agree with that, right? Like I said, even though my friends were like, I can't watch this, the acting was top notch. And I say one of my favorite Doctor Who's, maybe we could patch things up with this, was the 2nd Doctor when he met the Cybermen on the frozen world. I know that they use some what's it called? Forced perspective. Oh my god, that looks so good. It really is good. And my Star Wars, he's still telling his story. And okay, Luke and Leia have to make them both darkly invaded. Okay. Remind me of the Gizmo from DuckTales. I love Gizmo. That's what my wife looks like. She got mad at me when I called her Gizmo, and then I showed it to her. She's like, okay, that 1 second. Okay. We have the best cheapo fast food pizza here in Michigan, Little Caesars. If you only have a couple bucks. Yeah, there's Little Caesars out here too. Little Caesars is out here too, if you need a pie. The oldest trope in sci-fi was used. Russell T Davies killed off the Time Lords, the most powerful race, so he could write the Lone Traveler. It's last of his thing. Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're all back. Like, how many times was the Daleks just erased, and then they're all back, and then they're erased again, and then they erase all the Brits, especially new Doctor Who, they don't take their continuity seriously. I can't think of a more powerful weapon than the Infinity Gauntlet. I think I agree with that. Henry, who created Gizmo, which duck artist? It's also about preference. I grew up a British TV drama. I prefer intricate, complex. Are you the one who's always recommending Red Dwarf? I got to check out Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf looks good. That looks right up my alley. I love The Prisoner. British drama is fun. So okay, so I've been filibustering enough. We got a bunch of people watching, so I am going to. We'll start with an obvious weapon. So we'll start with this one. So I got a couple of things primed up. If anybody wants to come up with others. So here we got the Infinity Gauntlet. Okay. We got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stones. I always say gems and then I get corrected that it's stones. If I remember correctly, it was the Soul Stone was created first in the Marvel Universe. It was Adam Warlock had the Soul Stone, and then it basically did whatever the plot required until they called it the Power Stone, and then it was the Soul Stone, and then they kind of came up with all the other the Force Stone, the Time Stone, why can't I even think of them all now? The Mind Stone and all the and then the Thanos made a gauntlet out of some sort of magic science metal, embedded the stones on it, and now he can control all of reality. The only thing I'm rusty on does it tax you when you use it? You know, like could Sidney Brady just put on the Infinity Gauntlet and use it? Because wouldn't the Power Stone give you like all the power and strength that you need to resist the Infinity Gauntlet? Or am I talking out of my butt? But I forget. If, see, this would be a good thing to know. If you physically have to be a powerful person to wield it, then it kind of limits some of its power. You know what I mean? Like, could Aunt May put it on and use it? I don't know. I don't know. The Sonic Scooter can mess with the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, theoretically, yes, but if you control time and it comes up to you and messes with the Infinity Gauntlet, couldn't you go back in time and make it so that that didn't happen? Or go back in time and then create an illusion so that the timeline is still pure? That guy thinks he's messing with the time stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the problem with the Infinity Gauntlet, to me, is the limitation of the writer. Normally, I don't like to bring in the writer, but when you have an all-powerful, geeky thing like this, you need a clever writer to use it. Or you could just say that the wielder is kind of stupid, which I think that Thanos is like genius level on so many pump, but he is his own worst enemy, literally. I'm talking out of my butt here. With the ultimate nullifier work on the, okay, I got to get an image of the ultimate nullifier so we can talk about it. But what are the things we need to the ultimate nullifier? Okay, but one of the things we got to talk about with the ultimate nullifier is we have to figure out what does it actually do. So would somebody like ask Grok or whatever to discuss what exactly the ultimate nullifier does? Because this is one of those things that the rules change. The ultimate nullifier, does it just destroy its target? Now it erases its target and the wielder from all time, space, and dimension, like throughout all of hyperspace and all multiverses. You don't exist anymore. Could it destroy a galaxy? You know, so this is the kind of stuff that geeks want to know. Geeks want to know. With the we talked about that. They're gems, the Infinity Gems. Fight, change that to stones. Never call them. Okay, the Infinity Gems. You see, just when I thought I had it right, I got it wrong again. I think the Great American Hero suit could beat the Gauntlet. Yeah, every episode he was like unlocking another. That was a good show that we kind of forgot about. The can opener stone, like my little can opener Enterprise. It's been a very long time since I read the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. My foreman Kelvin, his wife, just read the Infinity Gauntlet, and she loved the Marvel movie so much that she went and got the Infinity Gauntlet story, and then read the Infinity Gauntlet story, and now she doesn't like the movie anymore. She is so upset that they changed Thanos into this obsessive stalker boyfriend for death to this pseudo environmentalist goofball with short sightings. So she's like, they removed the greatest motivation in her mind in comic book history and replaced it with just made him a bad motivated villain. That's another MCU filth. You don't have to be physically powerful. Yes, that's what I thought. I was wondering, yeah, like anybody could use the Infinity Stones, right? But Adam Warlock, I got to bring up another picture, okay? Because this is one of my favorite weapons of all time. Just a cool, where is it? Why is that should be there. Okay. This weapon right here is Elric of Melnibones, or Melnibone. I always forget how to pronounce it. Stormbringer, the Black Sword. Now, this sword is evil. It's evil with the capital E. Spoiler alert, it's a demon in the shape of a sword. So some demon shape changed into this sword, and when you kill people, you suck out their soul, and the sword feeds on the soul, and then it also gives the wielder like physical strength, stamina, and power and healing as a reward. And it's addictive. You want to kill more, and the sword has a will like Sauron. And it tries to corrupt the wielder. And Elric, even though he was physically weak, he was mentally resistant, but even him, he had weaknesses. Like he accidentally killed Samoro, his cousin and lover. He killed was it the Red Raccoon, the Red Archer? I forget if he killed him, but it was powerful enough to kill this fire demigod. I bring this up while talking about the Infinity Stones or the Infinity Gems because originally Adam Warlock was the possessor of the Soul Stone, and the Soul Stone had like an evil, ominous will of its own that wanted, and it was Jim Starlin homaged, because I like it, not ripped off. He homaged Elric Melnibone, and instead of having an evil sword that wanted to kill, he had a stone. If you watched my Two Beards One comic series with Kelsey Shannon, we talked about the Jim Starlin, and he was strong enough to physically resist the will of the soul gem. So I don't know. Is it, would all 6 gems, now I'm watching my line, I don't want to get reprimanded anymore, would they have like a cumulative will of their own, or were there individual wills, or did they just forget about that? I kind of forget. Where are we? Where are they? I don't know if the StreamYard says, oh, I put out the wrong link. Okay. Here. Try that. Is that why nobody's coming in? Is that why it's not working? God. I know StreamYard is having problems. Click on that and let me know if it works. Okay? Click on that, let me know if it works. Where are we? The power of love, making ultimate Dark Warriors. I hated the MCU. It's pure retcon nonsense for anyone. The MCU sucks. Supposedly the gems had gamma radiation, and the radiation hurt the Hulk. Man, it shows you how much I remember these. With up until I think it was Infinity War. I saw the movies multiple times, but after Infinity, I just watched them one and done in the theaters, and I haven't really rewatched them. Big took separate books and made them into films. Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, and part. Yep, absolutely. I like Two Beards. How's he doing? I don't know. I have not heard from Kelsey since. I had his phone number. I called it, no answer. I have his email, no response. I reached out to other people. They all, to the point, I think somebody called for like a wellness check, and he's okay. Now, I know some personal stuff about Kelsey that it's not my business to tell you guys. So I was like, I understand why he's incommunicado. But if anybody hears from Kelsey, sees from Kelsey, tell him I'm asking about him. And into this long box, he poured his obsession, his cruelty, and his will to preserve good comics. One long box to rule them all. From RRTNZ. He 5 potatoes. Still the wrong link. All right. Still the wrong link. Okay, I'm going to try something. See if this works. See, this happened last week on It's Clobbering Time. So let me try this. Okay. I think there's a problem with StreamYard because, I know what I did. I just hit backspace. I have to close the screen, and then, okay. Live and learn. Try this link. Cooper's going to show up. Yay, Cooper's going to show up. Where are we? No, John, the Infinity Gems had no... Okay, you see. But I do know that the Soul Stone had... Because, but again, that was probably dropped. That was Starlin. See, in the Infinity Gauntlet story, I think you're right. There was no collective will. There was no undying... yeah. I agree. Hey, Henry Thrun.
Hey.
I am assuming that this is the correct link because geez, we're getting everybody.
There we go.
It's a party in here. Everybody, start dancing. How you doing? So it's Henry. It's nice to meet you. It's too bad you unsubscribed and we'll never see each other again.
Hey, well, you can always repent and turn back to Transformers and once you get caught up, then maybe I can resubscribe.
Okay. Okay. See what I do for one subscriber, ladies and gentlemen? The hardest working man in comics over here. And how you doing,
Absolutely.
Cooper? How you
I'm
doing?
okay. It's been
I just realized I call you Coop and it says
Mhm.
T-Buddy. I'm not doxing you, am I?
no. I call myself Cooper. So
Okay,
you know,
okay. I just realized that, oh my God, I'm probably doing a very, very bad thing here.
I'm a nobody. Don't worry.
And Logic, come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Salute. We got a hee-haw hello over here. That link, yeah. I realized what I'm doing up. I realized because I'm a dummy. Too bad Starla wasn't given lifelong editorial power. Yes, absolutely. I agree. I think you can count. I'm just going to catch up with the comments and then we'll talk. You can count Lex Luthor's kryptonite ring. Not really, because it's only effective against one person. You know, he could take out that ring and Batman could beat the crap out of him. You know what I mean? Like, it beats Superman. It nullifies Superman, but Plastic Man ain't going to, you know what I mean? Like, to me, the greatest weapon works against the greatest number of foes. I agree with you. Logic is raging. He's raging against the machine back there. I love it. I love it. So, Gem, I can't get away with nothing. I can't get away with nothing. I can't. You just have to accept me at my if you can't accept me at my worst, Logic, then you can't have me at my best. Okay? Okay? How's that? Wrangler, how you doing, Wrangler? Good to see you. That look at that avatar. Would you talk smack to that guy?
Absolutely. I do all the time.
Cooper likes death. Cooper likes he likes a nice taste of danger. Look at that guy. I wouldn't mess with him. I could see Henry doing the pogo in the pit. Uh-oh.
Okay, what's that?
I don't know. Henry doing the pogo.
It's kind of like the safety dance, but a little bouncy.
Pogo is I think it was invented by Sid Vicious or something. He in the Sex Pistols, he wanted to dance at a club, but he didn't know how to dance, so he just started jumping up and down.
Well, it's because it was so crowded. There was only like a little bit of space,
and that became the standard punk rock dance called the pogo.
Yep.
How you doing? Logic is here to correct everything that I say wrong, which is basically every other sentence that comes out of my mouth. The 10 Rings of the Mandarin is a good one. I've always loved the 10 Rings of the Mandarin, not the movie nonsense. Logic and I could team up right now and agree that Shang-Chi movie was just generic Chinese karate guy.
Yeah,
it was not Shang-Chi. Yes, the soul gem, according to the original story, your soul got stolen and it went into the gem and you stayed eternity in the soul gem. That's how Adam Warlock was able to come back, because he mastered the soul gem and freed himself from the gem. Logic confirmed. I type slow. I only use 2 fingers. Well, so does a forget it. I'll just drop it.
I had a boss at my last job, and we were like computer engineers, and he would type with 1 finger, and every button he'd like hover over it, over next to it. What
got? Search and peck.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Logic's having computer problems.
Oh well.
He's not. It's funny because he's the closest one to me, and he has a computer.
Well, I think everybody else is like a Heroes Con, where I should be. But
yeah, I saw your video, Coop. So is the correct word my condolences on
well, it's just a bad year. Just a bad year.
It is. Matthew Krecky would like to make an announcement. All hands on deck. All ears open. What would you like to announce? What would you like to announce? So while Matthew Krecky is clicking and pecking, what do you guys think? What any content, any weapons you'd like to throw into the ring for this battle?
Well, He-Man's sword is pretty powerful, supposedly.
Is that the Thundercats is the Sword of Omens, right?
Yeah, that's the Sword of Omens. Yeah.
Okay, what is He-Man's sword called?
I don't know if it has a name. The Sword of I don't know if it has a name. I know that's connected to Castle Grayskull by the power of Grayskull.
If you count that new Netflix series as canon, though, and that one you're saying is just a conduit that focused his power. But I don't really consider that series. So
no, that doesn't exist.
The Sword of Grayskull wasn't that the name of the sword?
I guess.
Matthew Craig, let's just give him an announcement. He's been in the chat for a long time. Let's give him a moment. I have a preview of my upcoming comic available on Global Comics.
Okay.
You can't. Marcus isn't here, but if you DM me on Twitter, I'll throw the link in the chat. How's that? DM me on Twitter, and I'll throw the link in the chat.
Yep.
John, do I have the Marvel Universe in the Book of Weapons? I'm holding mine right now. Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, I just put it in the comic book room like 3 or 4 days ago because I have a big stack.
Right.
Remember when I used to do 10-minute videos on individual comics? Remember that day? Remember those days?
Yeah.
Logic is trying to get in, and no, Logic. I could see that it says device not connected. So, there we go.
Logic doesn't have a place on your streams, John.
He-Man sword is called the Sword of Power, while his sister She-Ra had the Sword of Protection.
Okay.
Thor now has an axe that he crafted himself. Yeah, in the movie Stormbringer, and in the comics. First off, here's the mythological Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just smashed myself in the ankle with Mjolnir. I cut myself on Excalibur. I smashed myself with Mjolnir. The comic book, Stormbringer.
Yep.
I mean, I could probably kill two intruders, but I think the third one, this is going to break. But
yeah,
glorious way to die.
You can split a log with that thing, though.
Have you seen my Viking wood splitter sword? I told you that story. I'm outside in the backyard with a freaking neck brace on, cutting logs with a sword.
I hadn't heard that story. You nut.
Grigo in the house. I want to throw in a mother box too. Mother boxes are amazing. Imagine have your own little box that can heal you, integrate with any piece of technology, physically enhance you, and create boom. Yeah, I love the mother boxes. How you doing, Tony?
Hey, everybody. What's up?
Hey, what's up?
So, Coop, you want to throw a weapon into the arena?
Well, I when you brought this up, I also said the ultimate nullifier. I also want to bring that up, but it's like the I mean, anything that make Galactus like freak out, it's probably going to be pretty powerful.
Do we have? I'm being contacted by New Genesis right here.
There you go. Mother box.
You hear it pinging?
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah. Cool.
That's the boom tube, and that turns it on. So
I don't know if you can count that as a weapon, though. It's more like a personal iPhone, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like saying it's an iPhone a weapon. Yeah. Logic Finest. I'm sorry I didn't see you. Henry Thum looked like he had to go. Okay. You gotta go. It's good seeing you. It was nice knowing you. I'm sorry I'm not a Transformers fan.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm not sure anything can really top the Ultimate Nullifier in the right pair. Yeah, but Coop, could you tell us what the Ultimate Nullifier actually does?
It erases from something from existence.
Okay, that's the official.
Yeah.
Just so I'll say hello to Derek. I like this. People are popping in.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily like do damage as much as it just like erases something.
Okay.
It's basically a MacGuffin,
Right. It's like the Omega beams. It's so powerful nobody ever uses it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Keep talking. I'm just trying to get my Matthew Kripke's link in the chat.
Yeah. It's kind of a Deus Machina apparatus. I mean, there was no way for them to beat Galactus. They just weren't on his level. But then suddenly they hold this thing up to his face, and Galactus says, "Never mind,"
Yeah,
and goes away. So
now I'll I'm playing, I guess, the opposite of Devil's Advocate. I'll be the Angel's Advocate. So you're Galactus, Cooper, and I'm Reed Richards, and I hit this switch.
Yeah.
Galactus is erased from existence. Reed Richards is erased from existence. Is the Ultimate Nullifier erased from existence?
Well, no, Galactus would be erased from existence. Yeah.
See, I always thought that the Wielder was also erased. Can anybody confirm or deny that?
I have no idea.
No, I haven't heard that. I know it was like made by like the highest entities, like in the Marvel universe, like the gods of the Marvel universe, like made it to kind of like, you know, so it's never supposed to be in the hands of a mortal, and yet Reed Richards got a hold of it.
Right.
Through,
And we all know because the Watcher, which is basically, a Watcher, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were practicing Jews, and they knew their Old Testament. Cooper's here; he's bringing out my Old Testament, and the Watcher is a class, an order of angels, the Grigori, which literally means the Watchers, and that's what Uatu, the Watchers, were based on.
mm-hmm.
And Galactus was supposed to be like a Yalder Boa, the evil god of the Old Testament, according to the Coptics. I know my Old Testament too, Coop.
Yeah,
just not as well as you.
Hey, this is misuse of the nullifier can lead the wielder, being erased along with their target.
Yeah. Yes. So I wasn't crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I still heard that. Yes. And good to see you, Derek. This is your first time on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
So since Derek, we just don't. Do you want to introduce yourself? Do you have any projects or anything you want to share?
I don't have a project right now. I used to be the artist for Ballad of the Celestials. That's no longer happening. So I'm starting my own project. I'm writing and drawing right now. So I'll be hopefully in the future pushing something pretty soon.
Okay. You're an artist. If you want to put your links in the private chat, or anybody on the panel, put your links in the private chat, and then I can throw them into the public chat.
Yeah.
Logic is having some difficulty tonight. If Galactus is gone, the Celestials will go unchecked and will overpopulate. Leave Galactus alone.
That's a good one.
He never did nothing except eat a planet or two. It could erase a person. It could erase a reality. But if someone doesn't have enough high moral intellect, why did I say moral? Enough intellect to use it, they'll erase themselves. Yeah, so Doom would be the perfect person to use the ultimate. Okay, so I stand corrected. Now I'm reformulating my theories about the weapons.
Right.
Superpower Mario has a weapon like the antimatter wave from the really. Super Paper Mario is an antimatter wave. Omnipro, has anyone mentioned Metron's chair? Metron's chair, if I remember correctly, it protects it. He travels anywhere and anywhen, and it protects him from environments of such travels. As far as I know, it probably could do everything a mother box could do too, with that extra stuff. It's called the Chaos Heart. So there we go. Logic, I feel so bad you keep popping in and out. So the ultimate nullifier. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are smart enough to use it, it's a one shot or one and done. And not only you're gone, but like nobody even remembers you anymore, right? Like you're every trace of you from existence. Is that true?
I think the user will remember you, but I don't think anybody else does.
Okay.
I think that's part of it. You have to be smart enough to be able to hold another reality in your mind. And so if you're not sufficiently intelligent enough, it'll erase you along with it.
Yeah.
That's speculation because Marvel's never really defined.
We understand that. You got 20 million authors and 70 years, things change. So here's a question then, like with my geek experts. If I have the Infinity Gauntlet and you have the Ultimate Nullifier, what do you think? What's the outcome of that battle?
They cancel each other out.
You think
so?
I
think if the Nullifier was like used first, it would basically the Gauntlet would be gone. But if the Gauntlet was used first, it would like change the nullifier into something useless. So
Eric the Guapo is an excellent point. If any of us use the ultimate nullifier, we would be erased from existence.
Probably.
That's what happened to Logic. Remember Logic? He was here. He fired the ultimate nullifier, and he's been erased.
There you go.
We're not on Dr. Doom,
Well, I don't know the guy from the Eudaimonia. He could probably use it. He's smart enough. So.
I'm using Grok right now. It says noted uses of it. It was Quasar used it versus the Magus.
Okay.
Version of
that's
Quasar's attempt to nullify Magus backfired when Magus used the Infinity Gauntlet to redirect the blast, sending Quasar into the nullification void. See, I didn't know that. So that answers my question.
Mm-hmm.
The Ultimate Nullifier was used against the Infinity Gauntlet. So this must be after my time
Right.
with Marvel. And the energy was redirected back to Quasar. Now, is Quasar back or is he gone?
I don't know. I mean, as poorly as Marvel is written these days, it's really no way of knowing.
Right. So if Quasar came back, then the Ultimate Nullifier isn't the badass machinery, because he's going to come back even if he's still gone. So that answers
right.
What is a less? We got Mjolnir over here. Let's see. The Nullifier. That's my StreamYard link. This is. I'll keep that there. Sorry.
Did you put Stormbringer?
Mjolnir and Stormbringer to me are the same things. So.
The Elric sword.
Oh yeah, that was the first one I was talking about.
Yeah. That one. Yeah, I put on. That would be my choice for that.
This to me is my choice because I just love this sword. And, I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons. When I saw this in the DM guide or the deities and demigods, I was fascinated by this. And then of course my DM he made copies of this that we all used. So we were like 10-year-olds, each one of us wielding the equivalent of Stormbringer. I forget what we called it. One was like Copper Razor, Silver Razor, Gold Razor, and Electro Razor. How original! But we were 10 playing D&D, just one-shotting everything and thinking it was fun.
Right.
Yeah, and then there was the Mornblade, which was its equal, and But anybody besides me read these books?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it from Elric. I read all the Michael Moorcock stuff, but I never read the D&D guides.
Yeah, well, the D&D guides got so much messed up, but D&D always changed things for whatever reason. But stick with the book. You read all of the Michael Moorcock, like all of the Eternal Champion?
Up until maybe the last 3, but I read a chunk of them, yes.
I started reading Count Brass. I forget how much I like reading Michael Moorcock. Is like reading old Michael Moorcock is like reading it's like a comic book in prose. They're quick reads. The Costone, there's a deep cut used by the Sphinx. He went toe to toe with Galactus, ultimately lost, but the Costone is this. I love the story of the Sphinx. To me, this was just literature as a kid. But the Sphinx was the unnamed wizard that in the story of Moses turned his staff into a snake, and then Pharaoh had his court magician turn his staff into a snake, and then Moses' snake feeded Pharaoh's snake.
He ate it.
What's that?
He ate it.
It ate it.
Mm-hmm. He ate it. And that's the end of the story. We never hear about Pharaoh's magician after that. So, I forget the writer of the comic. I think it was Roger Stern. Said, what happened to that guy? So Pharaoh exiled him in Marvel Comics, and he wandered the desert until he found this oasis, and inside was a stone tiara. He put it on. As far as I know, we never learned the origin, but maybe they explained it later. And he was cursed with eternal life, and he became the Sphinx. Now, the Costone just gave him. I would put him on the level of like an eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But if you remember in that story where he fought Galactus, this is just so nerdy. I love this stuff. He rode with Nova to the planet Xandar, and he absorbed the information of the living computers, and that expanded his mind where he was capable of fighting. So just the Costone didn't make him an equal of Galactus. The Costone plus the secrets of the living computers of Xandar. I'm listening to what I'm saying, and I realize I have a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, done. and then Galactus, because Sphinx just wanted to die, and then Galactus did the ultimate move. He sent him back in time so that the Sphinx was trapped in this paradox that he just keeps going around and around and around for all eternity. Oh man, that was such a good comic. Fantastic Four 217 or 18 around there. So good. Now this is an interesting question. Would a lightsaber repel Stormbringer?
No.
Oh,
I wouldn't think so.
It eats souls. One's a laser sword powered by a kyber crystal. The other one eats souls. So no.
So Stormbringer would overpower a lightsaber?
Yeah.
I'm out of this one. I can't answer this one. I'm biased towards Stormbringer, and I'm anti-biased against Star Wars because I just think the lightsabers and the Jedis are the dullest part of Star Wars. You know, but
I love that.
But I think that lightsabers are the most overrated weapons in all of fiction. People just think they're more powerful than they are. Like, I can't believe I'm saying stuff like this, but where's the
the first online Star Wars game, basically Jedi were rare, and it was just like everybody had a good time with all the other classes, but then the next iteration they just shoved a whole bunch of it made it easy to be a Jedi, and so you didn't have to go through all this stuff to be a Jedi.
Right.
And suddenly the whole gameplay went down because everybody was Jedis, you know.
Right. In fairness, if you're going to play a Star Wars video game, don't you want to be a Jedi? You know, I remember there was a Star Wars role-playing game, and we never actually played it because everybody wanted to be the Jedi. You know, so and I think even the rule book says like one player out of the group should be a Jedi or whatever. But like,
well, I'm just glad that they left Corran Horn alone. From iJedi.
I'm glad they left your corn.
Glad they left him alone. That would kill me if they cut that guy out because that was my favorite.
It's not. What about the lament configuration?
What is that?
Hellraiser.
The
box.
Yeah, the box.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, what about? Yeah, or the Necronomicon, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah,
I would say that those would get defeated because you actually have to do it. You know what I mean? Right. Like I have to pick it up and play with it.
You have to know the incantation, right?
Right. Like there's a little bit of a ritual involved in that. Yeah. So that, and I think that those are supposed to be to like catch you and trap you. Those are. There's not really a difference between a weapon and a trap, but like.
But Stormbringer's a weapon and a trap once you pick it up. Yeah.
I could use Stormbringer in a battle. Am I going to take out the lament configuration in a battle? Hold on 1 second, Cooper.
No, but you can't use the Necronomicon in a battle. Right. You can read it.
Have you seen some of those guys solve Rubik's cubes? I mean, it's done, you know? Come on.
I had to step away. Is this about the most powerful? I think we all kind of already agreed at the beginning that nothing beats the Infinity Gauntlet. You know,
not much.
Even Brock said that the Ultimate Nullifier lost to the Infinity Gauntlet. So now we're just talking about like coolest, favorite, funnest.
Well, what about the cube? The Cosmic Cube.
The Cosmic Cube.
That's a good one. Still not as powerful as the Gauntlet, though.
No.
I'm good. I'm asking Brock. What's more powerful, Cosmic Cube versus?
Well, it's kind of a reverse Ultimate Nullifier. It actually puts things into reality. Ultimate Nullifier takes things out. So
it's not the Infinity Fauna, because that's what who wins. Okay, let's see what Grok says. We all trust Grok.
Yeah, Kobrick. I think it's called Kobrick, maybe.
Has anyone mentioned the Sauron's ring?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I was about to bring it up, but we went off a tangent. So
versatility, stability, context.
That's
feet.
I feel like it's powerful, but man, I know that we're not on Sauron's ring, but as I think about it, it's like once they cut Sauron's finger, though, it's not. Like once they cut it off, it's like not as powerful. It cuts the power down.
Let's look at its limitations. Like even the Nazgul, when they're sniffing around, they couldn't find it when it was like 8 feet away from them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I mean, they're drawn to it, but they can't necessarily locate it, right?
That's one of my favorite things about Tolkien. Oh, don't get me. I'll geek out about Tolkien. But even the gods were super limited. Like they were powerful, but they didn't have omniscience. They didn't have omnipresence. You know what I mean? That they were like less godlike than most gods.
Well,
Like,
one thing that Tolkien did better, and the reason why he still stands at the pinnacle, is that he created his own laws, and he rigidly kept all those laws all throughout his writing, and so there's a consistency there. If it didn't work here, it's not going to work there, and if this is more powerful than this, then it's going to be more powerful than this there. There's no moving power scale.
He was very consistent with his rules. Once you understand I remember talking to this is so geeky. I'm actually getting embarrassed about how geeky I'm being tonight. But like we were talking about, like Arwen chose between being a human and an elf because she was the daughter of Elrond, who is the great descendant of why can't I think of his Elendil? Elendil was a human who married an elf, and they had kids that were half elves and whatever. And Elros and Elror, I think they chose. One chose to be more, and they were like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah," but when Arwen, or more specifically, Tanuviel, why can't it? Baron and Luthien chose to be mortal too, just like Arwen chose to be mortal. Physically, they didn't change. In Tolkien, we think of he never really said that they had pointy ears. He just said that they were tall and fair, but it's kind of cool to think of them as the Peter Jackson elves. But when she chose to be human, she physically didn't change, either one of them. What changed was their Feyre, was their soul changed. And because her soul changed, her connection to Arda, the world changed, and she chose to. So she was still a hot elf chick, is what I'm basically trying to tell you. So Arwen, good for you. Good for you. Yeah. And the sad part I was telling my wife was in art and Tolkien, the elves, they die, they go to the halls of Mandos, and they get rebodied and stay in Valinor, the Undying Land. The humans, they go to the halls of Mandos, they have a cup of tea, Mandos checks them out, and then they go to Iluvatar, to where even the elves and the Maya and the Valar don't know. So it's really sad because Elrond's wife died before the book started, but he's going to see her for eternity in Valinor. So he will be reunited with all of the people that he loved and died and everything, except Arwen. Because when he said goodbye to Arwen on Middle Earth, the nature of her soul changed, and she's going to stay with Aragorn and go to a different reward, seemingly never to be united. It was a final. The elves, there is no final goodbye except for Luthien and Arwen. It's actually really sad when it's like her sacrifice and her love. That shows you how powerful it was. Geez, I'm talking so much and there's so many comments. You guys talk about what the spheres made by the Tallman and Phantasm. Man, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Oh wow, those are awesome. I love those.
Somebody said the time key from
right,
Doctor Who.
Yes. Anything with technology and moving parts can be defeated by the sonic screwdriver. Yep. Thanks. We're getting the thanks. Classic Who sonic screwdriver couldn't do half. Yes. The original sonic screwdriver was basically a tool, like it did all but then it became a magic wand, really.
Yeah.
We talked about the anti-life equation. I Googled this. Google says that the Infinity Gauntlet would defeat the Cosmic Cube.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I believe that.
List upon list upon list, and I'm not going to sit here quietly read.
Just to talk back on the sabers and the One Ring again.
Sure.
Whenever you talk about somebody wielding a lightsaber, if they're a non-force user, they're going to be somebody who can't wield the saber in a way that a Jedi could. So they can pick up a saber, they can wield it, they can cut things, they can do things with it, but they're not going to be as adept as a Jedi could be with the saber.
It's like General Grievous. Basically.
Yeah. Yep. They're more adept. Same with the One Ring, because it talks about, Gandalf, if he gets it, it would be worse than what Sauron would do, right? So depending on the wielder of the One Ring, it can be far worse than what Sauron had, or it can be maybe a little better. Who knows?
Well, eventually it's going to corrupt whoever puts it on.
Yes, it corrupts everybody. But we could see, whenever it was in the hands of Frodo and or Gollum, it weighed them down, but it wasn't nearly at the level, it wasn't doing very much except manipulation. It was manipulating them and pulling them and everything like that.
It's because of the simplistic nature of a hobbit.
Yes.
A hobbit, what the One Ring does is it plays on your desires.
Yes.
And Frodo's desires was really just to hang out, be home, and have a simple life, which is why the hobbits were the best at resisting. And Gandalf didn't even want to touch it. And the funny thing is, and Smeagol just wanted to eat, and have,
he just
so that's why.
Well, the reason it stayed quiet so long is because Bilbo. Bilbo was just basically a homebody, and it had nothing to. It really had no way to corrupt Bilbo.
And also keep in mind, the entire time Smeagol had the ring, Sauron was gone.
Yeah.
Sauron only started.
I also think it had a little more nefarious thought behind it than that. I think it was biding its time.
Right.
Because it could think. It was almost like an extension of Sauron at all times.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But definitely not as powerful.
Yeah.
Necro suit. I don't know anything about the Necro suit. I think 66 is the last.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the lantern rings are really powerful, but you're gonna tell me like the color yellow. I know they kind of change that these days.
They've messed up that lore so much I couldn't even tell you. I think the white ring.
I know nothing about it anymore.
The white ring was supposed to be most powerful, and then they made another ring that was more powerful. So I don't even know where the lore is.
I know the One Ring. One of the things I wanted to say, two things I want to say, is that Isildur gets a bad reputation. In the movie, he kind of looks like a selfish prick. No, he never made it to round two. He cut the ring off, Sauron, and took it and hid it, and they kind of he took it as a prize. It really didn't do anything. He thought it was over, and then people didn't really know about the ring lore. Didn't exist at that point. Elrond was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but like whatever. Then he started to realize this is influencing me. This is a bad thing. This is like a drug that I can't resist, And he was on his way to Rivendell to give it up, to give it to Elrond, to get it out of his hands. And once the ring realized that he was going to give it up, that's what the orcs came and killed him. So Isildur resisted the power of the ring for so long, and even Tolkien said in one of his letters that even if Isildur did try to destroy it, he couldn't. You can't destroy the ring. Frodo didn't fail; he couldn't succeed. That's what Smeagol, and even Smeagol couldn't destroy the ring. It was just because of a sheer accident kind of thing. Now,
it would take somebody sacrificing themselves because it had to be on someone's hand when they went into the lava
but they couldn't do it. And Tolkien said in a letter that if Gandalf had taken the ring, he would have defeated Sauron, he would have defeated Saruman, and then be a worse tyranny.
Yep.
It played off of C.S. Lewis. The worst tyranny in the world is the ones who think that they had the moral upper hand because they would never stop oppressing you. That's what Gandalf would be. So Gandalf was wise enough. I'm not even going to touch this thing. And then Galadriel knew that her desire to be good, like in the movie, they did a pretty good job explaining that. The thing about Galadriel that I always liked is Galadriel was very proud and arrogant. She left Valinor because she realized that she would just be a run-of-the-mill elf. You know what I mean? But in Middle Earth, she could rule. So she had a proud reason to leave, and she immediately sought out Melian, the Maya, wife of Thingol, and learned lore, learned how to make lembas bread and did all this stuff. And to the point, she got so wise that when they offered her to be queen of Lothlorien, and she said, "No, I'm going to be the lady." And she was forbidden to go back to Valinor. And then when she got the ring, and it would have given her everything she ever wanted, she turned it down. That was when the ban was lifted. She realized, I could go back to Valinor now. She's really fascinating character, but she was never the girl. She was an arrogant, and her name, she really was called the Man Elf. That is part of Tolkien, because she had interests that the male elves had that female elves, and supposedly she fought.
Same person points out Tom Bombadil could handle it.
Tom Bombadil could handle the ring because he had no desire. He was completely satisfied with everything as is. I don't think it was because he was so powerful. He put on the ring. He was like, "You can't give me anything that I want. I have everything that I want. I got Goldberry. I got talking dogs. I got a fireplace." But I don't know. I'm not the official. That's just my interpretation of Tom Bill.
What about Aladdin's lamp?
Tom, the ring was concerned about Tom. Yeah.
Well,
the ring was very concerned about Tom because Tom would have nullified it forever. So that's why it didn't want Tom.
No, in the Council of Elrond, if you read the book, Elrond says, "Let's give it to Tom Bombadil," and Gandalf says that's a bad idea. It'll be safe for a while. Eventually, Tom Bombadil would either forget about it, leave it alone. He goes, but even in the end, Sauron would conquer Tom Bombadil and defeat him. They thought about throwing it in the ocean, and they said it's only a matter of time before continents change and whatever. Gandalf was just like, we're destroying it. But yeah, even Gandalf said sooner or later, Sauron would defeat Tom Bombadil and take the ring. So he wasn't all powerful.
Well, I was going to say, if Tom Bombadil was so powerful, why wasn't he in on the story? You know what I mean? Like, Gandalf was there, but Tom Bombadil was only partially there. You know what I mean?
Well, Tom Bombadil was one of Tolkien's kids. I think Christopher Tolkien had a stuffed toy.
Yeah.
And he named it Tom Bombadil. And Tolkien would talk, tell stories of Tom Bombadil. So he would also tell stories about the Hobbit. And Christopher Tolkien was like, the guy had a blue hat yesterday. Now he had a green hat. So Tolkien started writing down all the details because Christopher was a pain in the ass. And then he started writing the Hobbit. And then one of the things he said is, I got to insert Tom Bombadil in here somehow. So it's kind of like, it even said, if you make a movie, you're going to remove Tom Bombadil. He doesn't, but he does. He gives the sword.
Which is why Lord of the Rings was safe for so long, is because Christopher wouldn't let anybody touch it.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, if he was that powerful of a character, I think he would have had more prominence in the story. And instead, I mean, he was a side character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, he was pretty much like a force of nature. It's not that he wasn't powerful. It was that he was like, basically, he was a world unto himself. And so he could basically be in his orbit for a little while, but he had no concern with the rest of the world. So
one of my favorite theories, I want to believe it, but I don't know, is that it's Tolkien himself in the story, and Goldberry is his wife, just so that he could live in the world. But he just loved this world that he created, that he put himself in the story. That's a cool one. But this is a really, really cool theory. Another theory is that, what in the beginning, the Aluwinde, when all the Maya were singing and all the Valar were singing and they created the Earth, Melkor created dissonance. And then Iluvatar put up his hand and reprimanded him and then shamed him and stuff like that. But they said this one of these YouTube channels, I forget what it was, that dissonance took the form of Ungoliant. Ungoliant is the dissonance himself, and then the opposite is Tom Bombadil is the harmony. I love that theory. It's probably nothing what Tolkien imagined, but it's just so cool to think about stuff like that. And as the harmony, he doesn't want to fight. He does no need to fight, But Ungoliant as dissonance just wants to smash and destroy. The destroyer armor. I love the destroyer armor. Tom Bombadil wasn't part of the main story because Tolkien didn't want supernatural creatures to be the heroes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
2 Celestials fought the destroyer armor imbued with the spirit of 3 gods, and it was swiftly defeated. Oh, that's like Thor 300, if I remember correctly. That's why the main hero is Sam. And everybody poops on poor Frodo. Frodo could not succeed. Nobody could.
Well, he was the ring bearer.
Right. But
I mean,
Sam
only carried it for like a less than less than a day, and he was almost overcome by it. And Frodo carried that bitch all the way. And so anybody bad mouthing Frodo, I mean, I got words for you.
Okay? Yeah, really. I agree with you on that.
I mean, he was doing something that Gandalf couldn't handle. He was carrying that. He was such good natured. He was so pure of heart that he carried like that burden all the way to Mount Doom, and only at the very end did Doom get the ring get the best of him. But that was,
and that's why a lot of people give Boromir a bad reputation, because Boromir, he wanted more than anything else to save Gondor. He had desire, and that ring clinged onto that desire, and it corrupted him from a dozen feet away instantly. Yeah. That's how bad he had a
Jackson's
desire.
Boromir was actually better than the one in the book. It's the one character I think was better in the movies than he was in the book myself. That's what I would.
And Faramir, they made Faramir kind of like nastier in the movie. In the book, he is really cool character, and he saw the ring. He had the ring on the chain, and he gave it back because he Tolkien.
He's a better man than his brother was. Yeah,
he was an awesome character. Tolkien said out of all the characters in the Lord of the Rings, he was Faramir. That was his self-intro, and he said Faramir was a little kid who was interested in learning and studying, and he loved lore. And he said he loved the sword not for its sharpness, but for its ability to protect. And his father, Boromir, kind of looked like his dad. Faramir looked like the mom. What's her name? That she died at Finduilas, I think was her name. And so like he was doomed because she died giving birth to him. And then every time Gandalf would come to town, this guy called Throndor, who was Aragorn in disguise, would hang out with Gandalf, bypass, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name now? The steward of Gondor, and then go upstairs and hang out with Faramir. So and Faramir just wanted, and he was like, listen, we got to fight. Boromir's out there fighting, and you're up here with the books, And then Faramir, he had the ring, and he knew how bad it was. But again, we are so sidetracked. What's the best weapon, guys?
What about Aladdin's magic lamp?
You got to tell me about it. I pretty much all I know from Aladdin is that Popeye cartoon. New lamps for old.
That's interesting. I never thought about this.
So Tony, tell us about the lamp and the ring.
There's a djinn in it, and it can grant you pretty much any wish you want. But if you go like the base legend of the djinn, it's like that story, The Monkey's Paw, where like you wish for $1 million and you get it because your mom suddenly keels over and dies, and she leaves you $1 million, or you wish for your dead son to come back, and then it's his corpse, his reanimated corpse.
Chris and Jack did a great. Yeah, Chris and Jack did a great take on this. You need to check it out.
Now, is the genie in the ring? Is it 3 wishes?
Yeah.
And then what? The genie goes free?
No. Then the genie goes back in. Because it's trapped. It's a demon. It's trapped in a lamp that you, by rubbing it, you have agency over, and it has vast supernatural power. Could pretty much do anything, but it always comes with a price. Like Stormbringer, like the ring. Like the ultimate nullifier. It's one of those things.
Yeah, the genie's that's like the genie's always maliciously interpret the wishes.
Yeah, it's not Robin Williams,
Yeah.
That's okay, cool.
Well, I mean, genies have that reality warping power, but they're also resentful of anybody that rubs the lamp that has power over them. And so they're pretty much everything's passive aggression. And so anything that you ask them to do, there's always going to be a twist to it. And it's always gonna not work out for you in the long run. And so that's one reason why, yes, it's powerful, but it's not beneficial. And so
neither is the ultimate nullifier, the ring of Sauron, or I would imagine even the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm sure that would screw you up somehow too.
Yeah, but it's Genie of the Lamp is like its own entity, so I don't think it would be considered an object.
I would acknowledge.
I don't know.
My brother from down under. I met John Noble, Denethor. He was amazingly nice. I said to him, "The rule of Gondor is yours and no others," and he chuckled and said, "That's right, mate." My wife and I met him. He was in that show Fringe.
Walter from Fringe.
Walter from Fringe. And
greatest mad scientist ever.
he was there. My wife's like, "Oh." So we went over to talk to him, and we just started chit-chatting with him. And he was really nice, and he was, and it's funny because his handler was just like $25, and I just clicked the picture and walked away. And he would, the handler got mad, but he didn't. He was like talking to my wife, but I'm like, I'm not paying $25 for a photograph. So somewhere on my phone, I got a picture of what's his name? I can't even think. John Noble acting all confused, like, what? This guy just stole a picture from me. This guy's a million.
John Noble, greatest Shakespearean voice ever. He has that resonance, man.
Forest Pub. Well, John, hope you have a good. Yeah, I got to go to bed soon too. I'm actually working. I got to wake up at 3:30 for Saturday work. Can't turn down that overtime. It's just too big. Do you let? Oh, we already saw that. You can bet Tolkien had mine. Lord of the Rings is full of Catholic references. The day Frodo destroys the ring is the same day as the Image of Mary. Yeah, you could get a Tolkien calendar and see how all the days. Like I think when they leave, I forget. They leave one of the elf cities at the beginning of spring. Like he did such a good job. Oh, I was going to bring this up before, but I didn't want to interrupt anybody. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but when I lived in Albuquerque, we would get a lot of Mormons coming to the door. And I will say this, the Mormons are the nicest people I've ever met.
Yes, they are.
They are.
Yeah.
If anybody's Mormon in the chat, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings or anything like that. But I enjoy a good religious debate. So we're, and at this time, keep in mind, I was the asshole of atheist. So I invite them in and we're talking and everything like that. And we're talking about John Smith in the Book of Mormon. And one of their arguments is nobody could make a book with such genealogies and complex histories. The book itself shows that it's divine. And I said, have you read Lord of the Rings and the appendices and the Silmarillion and the Hobbit? Because it is just as intricate and well thought out and not one mistake, and with no pretenses to the divine. So that was pretty much see ya. And again, I'm not trying to hurt any Mormons' feelings, but this was, don't come knock on my door and asking for debate and then not get debate. You know what I mean? I don't go to your house. King Arthur is interesting. He had 2 magic swords, the sword and the stone and Excalibur. Yes, people conflate the two, but the sword and the stone was not Excalibur. The sword and stone had a limit. It didn't just let you kill just anyone. Excalibur got past that. Thank you, some person. I mean, when you watch the John Borman movie, one of my favorite movies, the sword and the stone is Excalibur, but the sword and the stone proved that he was king, that he could draw it. But then Vivian, the Lady of the Lake, gave him Excalibur. So whatever happened to the first? Did he put it back in the stone?
No, they gave it to a knight, and the knight took it back to the water and threw it in there. And the Lady of the Lake, got the sword and went back.
Oh, he cashed in for a better sword?
No. He had died in battle with Mordred. Remember, he was on his way to the Isle of Avalon.
Yeah, that was Excalibur. Yeah, he's talking about the. I've never heard that the sword and the stone is different from Excalibur. So
yeah, the sword
glow in the dark here.
Yeah, and then Excalibur was given to him by the Lady in the Lake. Brian Blessed, I have to agree. As much as I've met John Noble, as much as my wife loves John Noble, Brian Blessed probably not just has the best voice in all of Shakespeare, he probably has the best voice in the history of humanity. What a great voice. Yeah. Anybody?
Greatest laugh, at least.
Okay, the Ark of the Covenant. Cooper, you want to talk about this? First off, it's not a weapon.
Well, the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
Well,
Right.
it's
not a weapon.
It's been It's been used as it was like used kind of similar to a weapon, though. In that they marched, the priests were marched ahead of the army with it, and they were guaranteed victory anytime they did that. So
okay, I forgot about that.
You consider that? I wouldn't consider that a weapon. I would just consider that a thing of faith.
But did it melt anybody's faces off?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know. I think that's more of a faith item, though. That's like carrying the cross around the neck. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there was, when the Philistines had a hold of it, all their gods bowed down to it, and also they had disease and pestilence and like plagues that hit the
I'll say
Philistines.
that's a difference, though. I forgot about them using it at the front of the army. When they're marching into town carrying the Ark of the and people are dying, to me that's a weapon. That's no different than a neutron bomb. You know, but
see, I guess I look at it differently because to me it's more of a faith item. You know
right,
what I mean?
right. I can understand.
Wields.
Like again, people probably get a little perturbed about.
Yeah.
Well, what if it wasn't powerful? Then why didn't a priest get killed?
But I understand that. But that's they're worshiping false gods, and that contains the presence of God. So I don't consider it a weapon. I just think it's almost like it's like the it nullifies the other gods. You know,
right?
That's what I look at it as.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
it was so powerful though that if they didn't go in there in the right manner, they had bells on the hems of the garments, and they heard the bells. They knew that they were dead, and they had to drag them out of there.
But they had to tie the rope around the ankle so that if they fell, they could drag them out because nobody else could enter.
What about the horn of Gabriel? I remember that.
Gabriel's horn at the last day in Revelations is supposed to announce the. I think it's just an instrument myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but didn't it shatter the walls of Jericho?
That's Joshua.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Been a while since Sunday school.
Well, the only other weapon I can think of that's in the Bible is probably the sword that was used to smite the firstborn of Egypt. So that was said to be a sword. The angel of death had a sword. So also there's a sword that protects Eden. Some people think it's the same cat. So I don't know.
Well, you could say the spear that...
The sword doesn't have to be that powerful to kill a newborn.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
you can say the spear that they put Jesus with.
Right. The spear of destiny.
Spear of destiny. Right.
Is there any stories?
Spear Longinus. Yeah.
What?
Spear Longinus.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something else. All right. Yeah. What does the spear of destiny do? Is there any? You don't want to say canonical stories, but are there any stories that?
It's supposed to be whoever holds it, can command armies and stuff. Yep. They're invincible. Yep. That's why they say Hitler. Napoleon had it for a little bit. He lost it. Hitler got it for a little bit. He lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, he really sought after it. That's a real historical thing. So it's pretty interesting.
He was fascinated with the occult and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The Ark of the Covenant, I just want to tell, it's just funny how things circle back. Because just this week I was talking with Brian Bow, the creator of Wolf and Batsy. I was talking about how in my heroic tales world, the sea people were deep ones. Who came out of the sea, because the deep ones were human and then slowly transformed. So what they would do when they were raiding for breeding stock and everything like that. And Brian was laughing at me, and he goes, "Well, they got defeated by the Ark of the Covenant." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he was telling me the story of how the Ark of the Covenant, was captured and brought to these different towns where they worship Dagon. And he's like, "Yeah, the sea people worship Dagon." And then that town fell by fire, and then the next town fell by earthquake, and the next.
Wow. Well, I'll have to concede that it was a weapon. It was a weapon.
I always thought the deep ones worship Cthulhu. Was it Dagon or Cthulhu?
Deep ones worship
Dagon.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all part of the Mesopotamian, the pantheon.
No
Dagon was the
humans worship
Philistines.
Cthulhu too, but not the deep ones. The
Okay.
star spawn worship.
Well, Cthulhu didn't exist until I always forget his name.
Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Lovecraft.
Yeah,
Lovecraft.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Based on a
Cthulhu
Greek
didn't exist before then. But he used a lot of the ancient mythology to.
So the deep ones
Cthulhu basically
existed
was
before
Dagon,
Lovecraft?
No, I made no. The
Oh,
deep
okay.
ones, no. In the ancient Bible and in history, again, people are going to get mad at me, but I'm just saying the ancient Greeks, the Mycenaean Greeks, were defeated by the sea people.
The Atlanteans.
It was just a mysterious group of people.
Okay.
We have stories of them attacking Egypt. Like where Carthage eventually is. The Joppa, I think, was destroyed by the sea people, the Israelites, and the ancient Greeks. These people just came raiding like Vikings, destroyed, pillaged, plundered, and then went back to wherever they disappeared. And to this day, maybe I'm wrong, but to this day, like historians, like who the hell were the sea people? So in my mind, they did worship Dagon. Dagon was a Philistine sea god, like Neptune or something like that. Yeah. So in my mind, it's a no-brainer that they were deep ones raiding for breeding stock. You know what I mean? That's so I'm filling in the gap, but Lovecraft made up the deep ones. And I always say heroic tales is superheroes meets Lovecraft meets Dungeons and Dragons, and no more so than the story that I was talking about tonight with one guy who might be drawing one of my stories. It is pure Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Oscar wants to know about the right hand of doom, that being Hellboy's arm. I'm a Hellboy fanatic, and I still don't know what the right hand of doom does.
It was from an angel, remember, and it got cut off, and then somehow it got grafted onto little Hellboy's arm, and supposedly it's supposed to bring about the coming of the Abju Jihad. But
right, I do know that
stuff got so convoluted in that comic book for me. I didn't they come already and they kill him or something like that? I just things just got a little bit too confusing.
He eventually, I think he got killed and went to hell and became a lord of hell or something like
that. Yeah. I just know
the king of hell.
Open the doorway to usher in the destruction of the world. It's the key to hell. Yes, Oscar. That's a pretty succinct way of explaining it. Okay.
Right.
Nerd test. What about the Hand of Quill and the Eye of Rin? Yeah, those were for Dragonlance and Dungeons Dragons. Am I correct?
Nah, I think so.
Am I wrong?
Don't know.
I don't know.
The Green Orb, the Lochnar from the heavy metal. I know whose Lochnar it is, and it's not your Lochnar. I love that movie. I think it was the first time I ever saw cartoon nudity as a kid, and I was like, cartoons got boobies? The Necronomicon from Lovecraft. Yeah, the thing about the Necronomicon is again, you really got to be dedicated. You can't just pick it up because it's not written in English,
right?
Or actually there is a version in English, but you have to study it. You have to perform the rituals. It's not like you just read it out loud like they always say. You have to perform these rituals to do it. So it's difficult. And yes, it's for the world.
It's like a recipe book.
Right.
No, it's set in the shunned house, or maybe it was the Dunwich Horror, that the book can choose you and allow you to read it just so you could do something, especially if the constellations are right, just to hurry up and bring the old ones in. So
the Darkhold in Marvel is basically the Necronomicon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you have page 751 in the book. Without page 751, you cannot summon Yog Sagoth, right? Is that the number of the book?
Something like that.
There is not as many weapons in the Bible as one think. I actually have a topic that I want to talk to you, Cooper. I'm not going to spoil it now. Cooper and I have been doing a biblical study. And anybody's also welcome to join us to talk about these. Luke Stone was going to join us as he's a pastor, but he had a when you're a pastor, you got a responsibility to the people of your church.
Especially when the rainbow people come for you. We'll just say that.
No, the Eye of Rin and the Hand of Quill were from Moorcock's Coram stories. Those were yes.
I didn't read that many of the Hawk Moon ones. I just more or less stayed with Elric. That's more or less where
So I got them backwards. These were the original ones, and then the Hand of Vecna and the Eye of Vecna were based on this. You're right. Yeah, I just.
So has anybody decided what's the best fictional, the deadliest weapon yet? No. Have we come to a consensus on that?
I don't know. What about the Mobius chair?
Oh, we talked about the Mobius chair. I mean, the Mobius chair replicates all the powers of 2 of the Infinity Gems.
But is it a weapon? Okay. Yeah, I mean, anything. I guess you could look at it like anything can be a weapon. Like a car could be a weapon, a rock could be a weapon, a pencil.
Right.
So I mean, I guess where are we looking at things that were designed to be weapons, or things that are just anything? Like
I left it loose because I wanted this kind of argument. I wanted people to say that the Ark of the Covenant, it's a weapon. The Ark of the Covenant's not a weapon. So, like, look at it this way: is a cross a weapon? Because you use it.
Yeah, I could stab somebody with it. Yeah,
you use it to fight vampires. So.
Okay.
Well, the Mobius chair is full of knowledge.
The symbol of the cross is the weapon. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, the Mobius chair, you use knowledge, so it's like once you gain the knowledge,
what it represents.
Yeah. Before. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It can probably be used as that, but I don't know if that's like the ultimate. I'd say it's pretty high, but
the Weeping Angels were one of my favorite doctors.
I'd say the Gauntlet, Infinity Gauntlet.
I say the Gauntlet too, man. There's just so many things you can do with the Gauntlet. It's ridiculous.
I think that's the purpose of the Gauntlet. Is it's supposed to be overpowered. It's supposed to be the most powerful.
Yep.
So
I guess I'll agree. As much as I love Stormbringer, I'll go with the Gauntlet. Yeah.
Well, the problem with the Gauntlet is because of you have the Mind Stone, you have the times. Thanos could take you out from across the galaxy. You need to be, as powerful as Stormbringer is, you have to be able to stab Galactus.
But I have a question.
If anything, they nerfed it in the movies. If anything, they nerfed it in the movies.
Yes, they made it less powerful.
In the comics, it was more powerful than that.
What about the anti-life equation?
See, that's just it. What exactly does the
from what I can remember from Kirby, right? Anti-life for Kirby was an equation that could dominate anyone's will. That's what Darkseid wanted. He just wanted to dominate the entire universe with a formula, a word. That's what anti-life was to Kirby. It was taking your agency away from you, making you subjugating a person without. Yeah, so I mean, I would say, could anti-life be equal to the Infinity Gauntlet?
So it's giving me the formula, but what does it actually do?
It takes you over.
Well,
it takes away your will.
In some versions, it's a power that can be transmuted through speech, technology, even the internet.
Now keep in mind, I haven't read any. I don't consider any new God stuff canon that wasn't written by Kirby. So I'm going by the Kirby definition.
Right.
I don't know what John Byrne did with it. I don't know what anybody else did with it. I know what. I got the 3 omnibuses of Kirby's Fourth World right here on my shelf. So I've I'll go with that definition of it.
Well, I'll say this: the anti-life equation affected reality. Reality is just one of the gemstones in the
right. That's what I'm saying. It affects free will, which is just one of the stones, because that's the mind, and reality is another. So it only has power over 2 of the 6 stones.
But if you take over everything, who can use the gauntlet against you?
But the stones give you mastery of every. So if you got mastery of the mind. This is just so freaking nerdy. I'm actually like laughing.
I think they would just cancel each other. One of those things that would cancel each other out.
Right. So it cancels each other out. Then he uses the soul stone and sucks your soul out. You know what I mean? So
maybe.
Or he transports back in time and defeats you before you got the anti-life equation.
But the one thing about the version, huh? Oh, you use it,
Go ahead.
and then they immediately take you to the source wall. Remember, like anybody that uses that equation, they get taken back, because if you do that, there's some sort of underlining threat where if you ever do figure it out, you'll threaten God, and God will stick you into the source wall where you can't do any harm. So I guess that's one of those things like the nullifier, where using it could be just as bad as not using it. I don't know.
Eric the Guapo says the sword of Superman grants the wielder, if they are from the House of El, near omniscient and omnipotence. I never heard about this.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about the sword of Superman, so I can't comment on it. To me,
it must be a recent. That must be a recent thing. It sounds like something really stupid that somebody modern would do.
Yeah,
the Phantom Zone, John. The Phantom Zone.
If a phantom, that's like saying jail is a weapon.
Well, I mean, it was like the Silver Age one. It was like a ray gun or something. Exactly, you boom, you're done.
The Phantom Zone projector is a weapon.
Yeah, the Phantom Zone projector. Yeah. So there you go. How about that one?
Now,
how many times does somebody break out of the Phantom Zone?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there.
So this says the heart of the universe is actually the universe itself. So it's even powerful than the Infinity Gauntlet. And therefore, you can destroy the Infinity Gauntlet with the heart of the universe. And I don't know. That just sounds absolutely ridiculous to me. But it's something that's way beyond the power of the Infinity Gauntlet when you read about it. It's absolutely
John,
stupid.
Who is God in the Marvel universe? And does God
question.
in the Marvel universe equal a user of the Infinity Gauntlet? Or does one surpass the other?
As far as
because
I know,
remember they have that one above all, and then the living tribunal and everything. What's above that? And does that actually this one cancel here?
Is the leader of the Celestials.
Okay.
And according to Jack Kirby, the Celestials were angels.
Okay.
I think in the original Eternals, the one above all was God.
Okay.
But of course that changed when that got folded into the Marvel universe. But the living tribunal, to me, is the angel Metatron, and this isn't canon. This is just me thinking stuff, because he's supposed to be the second in charge. The only person more powerful than the living tribunal is God. But Marvel Comics respects the idea that we don't want to piss people off, and it's kind of cool to have this. So the agent that we see is the one above all. But according to what is it, the apocryphal sources, the angel Metatron is the viceroy of heaven. So I always said that the living tribunal is just Marvel Comics non-controversial version of the angel Metatron.
But does the gauntlet equal God?
I think the point can be made.
Oh, Cooper froze.
Well, how many times has Thanos been defeated? Even though he had the gauntlet, how many times has somebody that had the gauntlet been defeated?
Yeah,
so,
right. Well, this says
evidently there's a force that's arranging things to where they'll be defeated. So, one could argue
I'm reading something
that's the power above it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And this says that Thanos took out the living tribunal because they decided Thanos shouldn't have such a powerful weapon like the heart of the universe. And he actually took them out and all of Earth's heroes. In the end, he ended up destroying everything except his old frenemy, which was Adam Warlock. And Adam was outside of the universe, and Warlock convinced Thanos to return everything back to normal because, he could tell it wasn't good. And so he did it, and Warlock is the only one that remembers it.
Oh.
So that's an interesting story. I didn't know that happened. So that's actually pretty cool. But it kind of lets you know that that's more powerful than even the Infinity Gauntlet.
So what? The heart of the universe then is the most powerful weapon.
I mean, that's what this is saying. I don't know how true that is, but that's based on story. But yeah. So I don't know.
It depends on.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm just saying that depends on what time the heart of the universe was created. If it was created past a certain time, then it's not canon according to pretty much every nerd. It's part of the modern era. It's part of the modern era. Then no.
Was it created by Jim Starlin? Was it like an old? I've never heard of that.
I don't know. I've never heard of it either. So
the universe. I thought it was a Transformers thing.
I don't know.
I had no idea. Yeah. It's definitely a Marvel thing, but I don't know when it was created. So,
I know nothing on that. I can't bring anything to the table about that. It sounds cool, but
yeah. I'd have to do more research on it.
It sounds like somebody wanting to put their stamp on things, so they just created something
but I guess
that's a bigger MacGuffin than the gauntlet.
But when you think about the gauntlet, like each of the stones or the gems have to come from something in the universe, right? So you think there would be something that would step above that if they were elements or something from the universe.
Does anybody remember the in the 90s, the Infinity Watch? Remember when Adam Warlock? Yeah. Remember they said, I don't know who wrote that. I think it might have been Ron Mars. But the writer said that what the Infinity Gauntlets were was the corpse of God who died after he created the universe.
Wow.
Remember I remember that always kind of stuck with me. Now, again, Marvel continuity is fluctuating constantly, so who knows if that's still a thing.
Oh, man, yeah. Right.
It sounds cool, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we could say, I don't know about this heart of the universe, so I can't talk about it. So, to me, I'm going to default to the Infinity Gauntlet as the most powerful.
That's what I want to do, too, is go to the Infinity Gauntlet.
So,
because I feel like it's definitely powerful.
What is the, now, how about this? So, the Infinity Gauntlet trumps everything else. Okay, so, all right. What is your favorite fictional weapon, then?
I like Stormbringer. Like I said before, that's...
Stormbringer is one of my favorite. It's such a cool idea that this weakling, Elric, is a great sorcerer. He's the rightful king. And how do you say it? Melnibone or Melnibone?
I say Melnibone. That's I met Michael Moorcock in Austin once. I said, how do you say it? Melnibone.
Melnibone. So if you met Michael Moorcock, then that's the official. And he was this. By right of his authority as the king of the Ruby Throne, he could command elements. He had these rings but he was like powerful, but he was just physically weak. And when he got this sword, it supercharged him. But it came at a price. The sword was greedy for blood. Blood and souls, my Lord Ariok. And he would. It's just such a cool weapon. It really is one of my favorite fictional weapons of all time. So me and Tony like Stormbringer. Derek, what's your favorite weapon?
I do like Stormbringer, even though I need to read the books because I've heard about Stormbringer. I just don't know the books at all. But gosh, I've always been a lightsaber guy because I've always been a Star Wars fan my whole life, and I know that's a boring answer, but they've just been awesome to me because it was a step up from a regular sword.
You kidding me? When I first saw a lightsaber light up when I was a little kid, I was like,
that's what it did to me. So that's why it always has a special place in my heart. Even though there's really nothing that special about the weapon itself.
Right.
And then I always like fantasy weapons. Any fantasy weapon that has kind of a story behind it. Like whenever those wielding Sting and all those weapons that you read about, the famous sword. I love when they have a story. I love whenever they have a reason behind why they're there. Anything that attaches to the character, that stands out to me. So
I can honestly, without fear of contradiction, there's 75 people watching, 4 people. So we'll say 80 people. I bet you every one of us has taken a cardboard tube and gone.
Oh yeah,
we've all played lightsaber.
Every chance I could when I was a kid. So, yep.
Luna says the Green Lantern ring. Yep.
I do.
I remember finding. You make fun of me all you want, but like a grandmother's old ring and putting it on and pretending it was the Green Lantern ring. We've all done that stuff. I mean,
I got a question for you, John. Which is the more powerful ring, Alan Scott's or Hal Jordan's?
I think it's not so much it's who's got the will. You know, like
I know, but they were different. They were similar but different. You know, yeah.
They were similar but different. Alan Scott's only just so funny. Alan Scott's only weakness was wood, and then they made him a gay man. But his only weakness was wood.
Oh man!
And then Hal Jordan was yellow. So how much wood is there in the universe? You figure there's got to be a lot of yellow in the universe because it's a spectrum. So I would say by definition, it's Alan Scott's has to be. Like if you go to Jupiter, it effectively has no weakness.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're fighting in space, you know, there you go. Alan Scott's going to win all day long. But ultimately, I think if you were to take either ring on and put it on me, it's basically a normal ring. I don't have any willpower.
Oh my gosh.
So, hey, Tim Olson's here. Tim Olson has a book called Melvin. You can pick it up on Amazon. It's a fun book. It's like a Tim. Would it be a fair enough? It's like a nice mix of fantasy, sci-fi, or am I misdescribing it? My favorite fiction. Oh, the wave motion gun from Star Blazers. Anybody not know what that is? It's the spacecraft Yamato had this big hole in it, and what they would do is they would do they explained it like they would travel like on a sine wave, and they would fire up the engine, and they would jump rather than traveling like this. They would jump from point to point, so it was like they would teleport, and that's how they described faster than light travel. That has stuck with me to this day. But they could take all that energy, and instead of traveling through space, they could fire it as a weapon. Now, the problem with these early manga is that they did everything, and then Voltron pulled out a sword and defeated the bad guy. You know, Guyver fought everybody, and at the end, he opened up his booby blasters and took out the bad guy. The wave motion gun, they did everything. They did it, and then they fired the wave motion. Like I always just say, like, why don't they just, if Voltron just took out a sword in the first 8 seconds of the cartoon, the rest of it, they could just eat ice cream. What?
Hey, John, you should check out Beast King Golai. That's the anime that Voltron was remade into. That thing is violent. It's got nudity. It's got incest. Wow. It's got all sorts of, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it's a completely different animal. You might enjoy it.
Right. For swords, Black Razor. Black Razor was the D&D ripoff of Stormbringer, which is the inspiration for our swords. That was Gold Razor, Silver Razor, Copper Razor. You know, that was the, because, you know, because you're a 14-year-old boy, you copy everything. My favorite weapon is the space facility on Gallifrey from the classic. Time Lords put an entire galaxy into a time loop. The entire universe, it disappeared, but it was stuck in a loop. That's pretty cool. How ironic. Straight men arguing about jewelry. Who said I was straight? Have you seen my wife? It's you know, her name is Phil. I don't know, being stupid because I'm getting tired. Tom Cruise doing stunts, and Zed Odysseus, is that a manga or something, or is it something I just don't understand? What if the person is colorblind? No yellow to count. Yeah, but the ring still is affected by yellow, whether or not you could see it or not. If Star Blazers was fun, the time space facility controls time and can stop time anywhere in the universe, speed up, slow it down, or time loop entire galaxies. Mexican mom's chalanca is the most powerful weapon. Bend children's minds for eons. What's chalanca?
That's a slipper. My grandmother would pull it out and smack me over the head.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's a flip flop.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The DMAT gun is powerful, but it's handheld weapon. The space. Okay. It would be if I don't bring up Spider-Man's web shooter. Yeah, every kid loves Spider-Man's web shooters. You know, I remember I had a revelation as a kid, like Peter Parker. You know, nerdy kid does right and everything like that. And then we were talking about, you know, he gets all these hot chicks, and I was just like, yeah, but he's swinging around all day. Like, super strength enough. Peter Parker has got to be in great shape. You know what I mean? You know, after a few times you beat the man,
Peter Parker
and then keep swinging around, like, yeah, he's gonna get the hot chicks because he's just Gotta be.
It's like Captain America going from scrawny guy to Butch. That's what happened to Peter Parker. So yeah.
Zed and Olympus. What is Zed and Olympus? I don't know what that is. I know
Odysseus.
I know Odysseus is the Odyssey. How stupid is this comment? That what's his name? Christopher Nolan's making an Odyssey movie, and then somebody said, "This sounds so bad. You're gonna tell me that a movie called The Odyssey has a character called Odysseus?" It's like, yeah, because that's it's what it's about. But I just love when people show how ignorant they are. Not exactly a weapon,
well,
but
Odyssey, the word Odyssey comes from Odysseus.
Oh, here's one.
So,
Felix the Cat's Bag.
Ah, yeah. There you go.
I love Felix the Cat's Bag. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? He had this like pocketbook, purse.
It was a magician's bag. Remember, he was a witch's black cat, and he got the bag from her. Remember, and it was magic. He needed a thing. You'd pull it out.
Yep.
Right. It had like a pocket universe inside. Yeah. Whatever. He gets into tricks. He reaches into his bag of tricks. Felix the Cat.
What about Captain America's shield? That's a weapon, I guess.
Yeah, he's throwing it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That was going to be my choice if John had asked me. That's what my choice would have been. Yep.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always love Wolverine's claws too, but
there's a good one.
I just feel like they get null and void once Magneto comes around. So it's like, you're done at that point.
But what kid didn't hold up 3 pencils in class to pretend they were Wolverine? I tell you, those claws that like you could buy, it's got a little handle over here, and you close your hand. If I had that as a kid, I would have been. I
know it's ridiculous.
You kids today with your Wolverine claw toys.
That's based on an actual thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's based on an actual ninja weapon.
Yeah.
The Enigma Force of Captain Universe. Claws come with the whole skeleton. Harry Potter wands. Yep. But I mean, you couldn't just pick up a Harry Potter. You had to go through years of training, right, to use a Harry Potter wand.
Yes.
You had to have magic to start with.
Have you guys mentioned He-Man's Sword of Power and the Sword of Omens? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we did.
And Skeletor's Havoc Staff. There you go.
What's your favorite?
Skeletor also had the second sword. So there's 2 swords in He-Man.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it becomes a more powerful sword when you put them both together.
I already chased away Harry Thune by admitting that I don't like the Transformers. I don't like He-Man either. I was too old for He-Man, and my little brother had it. So to me, He-Man is little kid stuff. Even though when I'm 57 and he's 52, there's not that much of a difference anymore. We're just old farts together.
Yeah.
But
I like the original He-Man and the comic books that came with it. And that's the
they were darker. They were really darker than me. Yeah.
Yes. And the universe in
G.I. Joe
they
was
would have made
really dark.
Yeah, well, if they would have made a cartoon of the comic books that were with the toys, man, that would have been fantastic.
Remember the beautiful Alfredo Alcala work? Also, Mark Texiera did a bunch of work there. Beautiful drawings. Yeah.
Yep. Really cool fantasy if they could have done that.
That was my
too, by the way.
That was my introduction to Conan. I remember when I was a kid.
Yes.
My dad had the novels, but I never read them. They look cool, but I never read them. And they had a re-release of the original Conan '82 film at my local drive-in. I must have been like 6 years old. And my mom was like, "Well, we're going to go to this. We're going to see it." And she bought me a He-Man figure. And I remember just looking at it, going, "Oh, this is cool." I mean, he had like a spring-loaded waist. He came with axes and shields and stuff. And he's like, "Where are we going? We're going to go see Conan. What's Conan? It's like He-Man." I said, "It's Conan's like He-Man." I would remember playing with my little He-Man figure in the backseat of my parents' Volvo station wagon, looking at Arnold Schwarzenegger beheading a snake. And that's why I've always loved those two. They always have a special place in my heart.
Logic's fine. It says my favorite superpower is telekinesis. It mirrors several superpowers: strength, fight, vulnerability. That now you know why I picked it for my character, the Patriarch. You'll see when Patriarch #1 comes out. There's a reason why he pretends to be a Superman type guy when he's really a Marvel. Like I said, his origin is complicated, and I hope you'll understand why I didn't tell it in the first issue.
Well, I guess I gotta say the glass arm from Ironsides. So
yeah, gotta always be pushing your stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, telekinesis. Oh my God, wouldn't that be the coolest power to have in real life? Like the most useful.
It is pretty cool.
You know what I mean? You could do it. You could just be so lazy. I mean, you could be a tyrant if you wanted to. Because to me, I'm thinking if I have superpowers, but I'm in this world, then I'm probably one of the only people who have superpowers. So you don't want people to know because you're gonna get dissected. Let's be realistic. If all of a sudden I fly to school, I want to fly. No, you're gonna get captured. You're gonna get dissected. I don't care how benevolent you think the government is. You're gonna get dissected. So the best weapon, the best superpower.
Kind of partial to gravity myself.
Gravity is ultimately powerful, but it's not going to make me for a successful life because there's no supervillains to defeat. You know what I mean? Like unless you just want to go in and like take out the Ayatollah Khomeini and you know what I mean and all the. But
you can lift anything. You can make anything heavier. You can jump long distances.
Graviton
to be had.
Graviton is one of my favorite villains too.
Yeah, I forgot about him. Gravity would be a very, very good.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Oh yeah, you could screw people up with that one. Yeah,
the power cosmic.
Oh yeah.
See, the power cosmic to me
you
comes
could squash him like a bug.
If you get the cosmic power, you all of a sudden become aware of everything, and you're not going to be yourself anymore. It's almost like you know what I mean? Like, but like to me, like. Powers that you could have that you could hide from the government, like invisibility, but even that's kind of limited. But like mind control, shape change, regeneration. You know what I mean? These would be powers to be selfishly have a good life, intelligence,
speed. Because
teleportation.
When I think about how powerful Flash actually is with speed, it's pretty amazing, and it puts him up in top level status. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy how powerful he really is.
Yeah. But the problem is sooner or later, the government's going to dissect you.
Sure.
Because,
you can outrun him for a while though.
Yeah. But sooner or later, you're going to go to sleep. And
right.
They monitor you,
Yeah.
You're going to be what? To my way of thinking, if you're the Flash, you're breathing a lot. The Flash can't hold his breath. So they're just going to spray everything with anesthetic gas. You're going to run through it and probably pass out faster than anybody else. And I know people are like, he's going to burn it off fast too. But for that split second, then they shoot you with darts, whatever. Cut your feet off and then you can't run.
Cut your feet off.
Well, but that may be Barry Allen, but not Wally West.
Multiple man.
No, Wally West.
We've all fantasized about that multiple man. So my fat ass can stay here playing video games while my duplicate is at work. And then my other duplicate gets another job, and then my other duplicates,
Yeah, I've got a guy named Manifold that has, but the more clones he creates, the dumber they all get.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. That's a good natural. That's like a good Marvel limitation on.
Yeah.
He like loses a
past
piece of
eight,
himself.
they get really retarded.
That's fun.
Yeah. The Molecule Man's only weakness is basically his stupidity and his lack of personality, his lack of will.
What about reality warping powers like magic?
Power. One of Batman's superpower
Franklin
is
Richards
and his money. Yeah, telekinesis is probably the most versatile power. I do like the second most would be like Mystique, shape change. There's almost you could be a spy, you could be an actor, you could do so much. If you wanted to be a criminal,
I always had a problem with Mystique because they always made her height different and like her. I don't know, everything they did. It was like,
where does she get the body mass?
Yeah, where's the body mass go? And it just doesn't work for me at all. I can't suspend disbelief with it. It's
Well, she
much.
grew a penis and impregnated her wife or whatever. So I mean,
That's what John Byrne
It had a butt baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is strange because then because now she can produce semen. That's weird.
yeah.
Like what the hell's happening here? So I just have always had a problem with Mystique up to a certain level. I can see her shape shifting a little bit.
I hate the modern age so bad. So
yeah, but with they always made her like become a bigger man or even a fat guy or something like. I'm like, I just don't think she could do those things. It doesn't make sense.
No.
What is,
and
like,
they've overpowered her, really.
Yes. Thomas Valiant, which is RJ from the Fourth Age, as a character, and he has like a stretching and shape change stuff. But one of the things that he does is he also could change his mass, so he could pull mass. Because it's funny because I was reading the book and I was actually getting stressed out. In the book, there was a character called the Jays, and they're like robins, and Thomas Valiant hid as the lining of his cape. And I'm reading this book. I'm going, come on, RJ. He's 180 pounds. How is this kid not noticing 180 pounds just attached to his back? You're better than this, RJ. And then you read the trading card that says he could change his mass. Like, you got it. But I don't think Mystique could change her mass. In my way,
I don't either.
So if you're Mystique, now I don't know what her, like, when she's finally at rest and all the powers are turned off, is she a 6'6" man? Is she a 5'2" woman? But to me, that would be her base mass. So let's just make the math easy. I don't know. I'm making this up off she's 200 pounds. That's the way I think. And for my years of playing my role-playing games, if you had shape-changing powers, you stay 200 pounds. Just your shape changes. So if you become 8 feet tall, you're 8 feet tall, 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Well,
and also they make her clothes change at the same time. And I'm like,
she's really naked. She's not wearing clothes. That's
the
her flesh.
hell. Like she can just tie a tie with her skin now or something. I don't know. I'm like, how does this happen? I just have so many problems with Mystique.
Like Plastic Man and Mystique are naked. Or
Plastic Man makes sense because he can change his whole piece to look like that, but they don't. Mystique just doesn't seem to do that. It's so strange to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I just said 200 pounds because it was easy for me to remember.
Yeah.
All powers are the best power. It depends on who's behind. Yeah. The Rock of Eternity. Oh my God. I love the Rock of Eternity. Guys, Paul Thayer, who does a project analysis on Twitter, he asked the question, which existing character would you like to incorporate into your universe? And without hesitation, I said Captain Marvel. And keep in mind, I made the proclamation that on this channel, unless I say otherwise, when I say Captain Marvel, I'm talking Billy Batson Shazam. So Billy Batson Shazam is one of my favorite characters. I recognize, there you go. I recognize Superman is DC's, and DC is doing it for the most part in the history of DC. Not right now. They did a good job with Superman. But DC has never done a good job, with the exception of the Power of Shazam Jerry Ordway series. That was awesome. They don't know what to do with Captain Marvel. And to be honest, I don't think he fits in a world with Superman. So I would love to take Captain Marvel.
Well, they just wanted to take Fawcett Comics was kicking their butt so bad that they've never gotten over that. So they just basically wanted to sideline him.
Plastic Man should have never been allowed in the mainstream DCU.
Right.
He doesn't belong. He just, he can't. It's stupid to have him in the JLA.
Elongated Man was already there, so why have Plastic Man when you're
exactly redundancy right there?
Yeah, it's redundant.
There you go. Eric Guapo doesn't mind becoming his personality changing, becoming one with the universe, and leaving for parts unknown with the power cosmic. The pre-existing, the question of I don't want pre-existing. Like
I know Surfer's Board.
The Surfer's Board's it is a weapon. It's transportation. It's everything. It's a cool power.
It's a good one, yeah.
I know you're a writer, Derek. I know you're an artist. Are you also a writer? Are you making your own stuff?
I'm becoming a writer. I'm learning how to write.
Me too. I'm not called. I'm becoming Tony, are you writing or drawing or anything?
I've written in the past, short story stuff, gotten stuff published in smaller publications, nothing too big. It's just for my own amusement.
Now, do you guys would you be interested in using public domain characters?
Yes.
You are. Which one?
I like Airboy. That character's always fascinated me. I love what Chuck Dixon did with him.
I'm really impressed with that, because that is kind of a bizarre character, kind of an obscure character is what I meant to say. So good for you. You picked. I just assumed you would say Batman or Superman. Hey, John, Airboy. That you just earned nerd cred by saying that. Airboy is a really fascinating and really bizarre character. Misery is one of my favorite villains.
Oh yeah. I love. Yeah, that was a good one. The Air Tomb. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's so cool. Cooper, are you interested in public domain characters?
Oh yeah.
Which one?
Yeah,
which one?
I've got a story I'm working on right now of one called The Green Ghost. He's a public domain pulp character from the 1940s.
Yeah, we talked about that already. I'm sorry I didn't remember. Yeah. Derek,
don't you mean the Green Llama?
No problem.
Okay.
No, the Green Llama and the Green Ghost.
No, he was. Yeah, they're different people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Green Ghost basically was a magician that used his magician powers to. It's kind of like a shadow type character where he would trick people into thinking he was magical or something. His alter ego was like the Green Ghost. It's like supposed to be a ghost instead of a spirit, and but it's supposed to be ledger domain. But my comic character, it's actually real. So
okay, Derek, would you be interested in any public domain characters?
I'm not interested right now, but that's just because I'm learning how to write. I wouldn't mind writing for one down the road, maybe. And I love the old pulp characters and things like that. But I don't like where the trend is going with it right now, because a lot of people are putting them into horror, like they're using Winnie the Pooh and doing horror. I don't like that.
You don't want to write Mary Poppins serial killer?
No, and I think it's weird as hell that they're doing that anyway. I just think it's against the characters.
How about Doctor Who Vampire Hunter or you know what I mean?
No.
I just think it's lazy and it's stealing gravitas,
Well, we always talk about we want the characters like in Marvel being up the way they are, and we're kind of mad the way they're writing them now. And I'm like, they're doing that with these pulp characters too. They're taking these old school characters and they're putting this spin on it, and it's a weird spin. I get it, like as a one-off and just for a joke and having fun, but I just think it's strange. I think it's a strange trend. So
yeah, I don't like Ed Vampire Hunter. Like it was kind of funny I think the first time I noticed it was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I was like, okay, that's clever. And then
they got one that's worse than that. It's a Sherlock Holmes Hellraiser crossover. It reads okay. It reads okay, but it's kind of trashy.
Yeah. No, that doesn't interest me.
I gotta go to bed, guys. I gotta wake up at 3:30 because it's Saturday schedule for the train.
Bye, John. Thanks for having me on.
This was
thanks,
fun.
man.
Guys, you didn't have. I was gonna give everybody, but what about next week? Anybody want to chat? We got 83 people. What do you think about next week? Coop, you got any ideas? Derek, you got any ideas?
Ideas.
You want to push anything? Do you want to pimp anything right now? Do you want to say anything?
Space Ghost versus Adam. Space Ghost versus Adam Savage or whatever.
Ooh, I like that.
Who? Adam Savage or Adam Strange?
Well, I don't know what is Adam Strange. Adam Strange. Yeah.
Oh, Adam Strange. Yeah.
Space Ghost versus Adam Strange. Yeah.
I like that. That's kind of cool. But I feel like Hawkman and Adam Strange were more similar, weren't they? Was it Hawkman? The original Hawkman? Was that the one who was kind of strange, or like similar to that? Maybe it is Space Ghost. I'm not sure.
Oh.
I
was just off the top of my head.
I kind of like this. Mogo versus Ego, Battle of the Living Planets.
Ooh, Living Planet. That's kind of cool.
That is just so so bizarre. It just might work. Galactus going into DC. Wow, Galactus fighting DC. The DC characters are all gods, though. I would almost think like, well, I don't want to speculate in case we do pick Space Ghost. Oh, how about the Ghostbusters versus the Force Ghosts?
That's pretty funny.
The coolest theme songs. Yep, these are all pretty good theme songs. Logo got a
that's a good one. I like the theme song stuff.
All right.
I don't really have one, John, but if I think of one, maybe I'll send you one.
Yeah. I'll put out a tweet, and if anybody has a good one, put them in the not the chat, because it's hard to go through the chat once it's posted. Put it in the comment section if anybody has a good one for next week, and I'll definitely see. I'm still small enough a channel that I try to respond to every comment. If I haven't responded to your comment, I will sooner or later. I usually do it on Sundays. You know, I just go through and make sure I respond to everybody.
I'll send it to you on it or something like that.
Yeah, or on X, I'll ask. So those are the two best ways. But I got to go to bed. I mean, I'm wide awake. I need to go to bed because I'll be
see everybody later.
I have to work in the dark tomorrow because we're turning off all the power in the wing of the hospital to do some stuff.
All right.
So that's what we got to do. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Pick up Cooper's comic on Fund My Comic. You got community service, and then my comic Heroic Tales. See you guys. I'll see you Sunday for Sunday comics. I'm going to continue with the X-Men. Bye bye.